Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 341 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. We are already back in New York City. Feels like we never left. Biz, Whit, Grinelli, good to see you guys again. We're going to be live streaming games 1, 2, and 3, and it might even be hotter here than it is in Tampa Bay right now, but obviously we didn't get to Vegas like we hoped, but we're still going to be partying down here. Let's say hi to the crew first. Producer Mikey Grinelli, what's up, buddy?
It is an honor to be sitting in Handsome Hank's seat. I'll say that.
Yeah.
It's an honor to be sitting here in the studio.
Studios. We've taken over these Muppets place.
It's a dump.
It's an absolute dump. They keep it a pigsty. It's no surprise, though. They're the grinders. They started Grit Week. Right, Bez? Or are you just...
No, I'm just taking a look around. This is my OCD is just like...
It looks like a giant junk drawer in here.
Yeah, it's the drawer you open, and you're like, I'll clean that tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's like need a Scotch tape, Phillips head, screwdriver, sandpaper, like in your kitchen. That's what it looks like.
I think when he cleared out his desk, they had like a bunch of bins full of all his clothes. Remember that where it was before?
He sold a bunch of it.
Yeah, it's like they brought it in here, put a grenade in it, and it just went off, and it's back all over the place.
Hey, he sells the stuff for charity, but you used to sell your Abercrombie out of the trunk for your own wallet.
I was trying to buy all of his bins off him for cents on the dollar. So when I came back on my next trip, you're walking to the offices. I'm on the side of the street. I got a whole setup. The T-shirts hung up.
20% off this rack.
3 for 20, bro. I got you 3 for 20. I got you. Hey, I'll get you a lock of Whitney's hair too.
His pubes. I love being back in New York, but it is also the grossest city of all time in the middle of the summer. I think it's the worst major city in the U.S., including like Houston or somewhere that's 120, because it's 99 and all you smell is trash. So
remember that Toronto story when I told you guys when I had to get Jans to come to my room after pregame meal because he wouldn't believe how bad it smelled from the lady the night before. That's New York City.
When did you get in business? This morning? What'd you take?
I took a red eye. These red eyes are killing me. They're going to be the death of me.
Yo, this guy leaves his phone. He comes to New York. Last trip, this trip already. He's been here an hour. Goes and gets a coffee. Leaves his phone right in the middle of the table in these places, and then like 30 minutes later goes back and it's sitting right there. I'm like, nobody else's phone would still be there. So
and that happened
did the same
Starbucks
thing in Boston Cup Finals last year.
And the lady hated my guts there too. So I thought she would have thrown it down wherever you would throw a phone to dispose of it.
Someone from Boston just snagged your like Amex card off of the phone and then left it for you, but you still got
with
hosed.
My $500 limit. I wouldn't care. I'm locked tight.
Me and Whit took the train down this morning. We were on the same train, but we get on different stops, so we don't see each other till we get off. And for the second train ride in a row,
perfectly timed, Whit.
Yeah, completely unintentional.
Hey, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. This is how. No, you go. You go first.
No, I'm not. That was a joke. You obviously wouldn't come to South Station to get on the train. I wouldn't expect you to.
Hey, what's
bitchy?
Hey,
about it.
No. I thought Biz is saying that I'm like trying to stay away from you, but I was going to say this.
Thomas Crown Affair final scene.
We meet. We see each other at the train. Walk over. It's like a block to the hotel, and he's leaking. And I'm talking to him and. He's telling me about his train experience and how he went to the quiet car and then he went back to his seat. The guy's forcing him to go to his actual seat, even though nobody's in the one he's sitting. No, I said, I just get first class, and I just said, have her do that next time. And I respect the hell he doesn't want it, but I think he'd have a much greater ride, and we could talk the whole time.
Hey, Grinnell, Whit at the train station. He's the guy in the final scene of Thomas Crown Affair. Just the guy can't catch him because he's switching hats.
No, I think there's 1,000 guys with hats on in that scene, though.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I am that guy.
Opposite of what I thought.
Well, since the last time we were on the train, they had to socially distance all the seats, so they didn't bust balls about where you sat.
Yeah, it was open this time.
Because they never cared about assigned seats until today. The guy was
trying to socially distance himself into first class.
Well, either way.
Just like the Cup Finals.
He's like, wait, let me in. The guy's like, you know this guy? No.
Yeah. Looking for the bathroom. Next thing you know, he's in the fucking Cup picture.
Well, that's what I was getting at, Biz. The bathroom. For the second fucking train ride in a row.
No. Last episode was the strip club bathroom. We got another bathroom one?
No, all right, now, when you use the train on the Amtrak, the bathroom on the Amtrak, how do you operate the door? You shut the door and you lock it behind you, right? Because there's sliding doors that if you don't shut them...
with my foot, too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you get a hand towel.
Whit gives a guy $100 to close it for him.
No, I don't want him in the room while I'm hosing. So go ahead.
And there's like a light or a little, depending on which one it is, to let you know if it's locked or not. So if someone's in there. So last 2 times, literally, I went over, opened the door, and there was someone in the bathroom both times. They didn't lock the door.
That's their
You
fault.
don't leave the door open because it slides up and down. You're supposed to shut it and then open it when you go in. And today, I thankfully I didn't see anything like too personal, but I think it might have been like an older lady in there because like I opened the door and I just saw like pastels and shit and like just seen like a hand come during the thing. I was like, sorry. And I was like, lock the fucking door.
All
Like,
right, coming from a guy who's been caught by his mom spanking off about a half a dozen times, I mean, that doesn't seem like
You
that
gotta
big
lock
of a
the
deal
door.
to me.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
well,
not really
it's-
on. If I see a green light or green, piece of plastic at an airplane in an airplane or a train bathroom, I'm opening the door. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's like basically in a place like that, it should be known to lock the door. You can't just go in there and not expect someone to walk in, especially on a like those train doors specifically, because you have to shut them when you use them. All right, that story sucked. Let's fucking move right along.
You've had some tough bathroom stories.
Yeah,
to start
man.
off.
I don't know.
Early
It was
on
like,
in the
I walked in
episodes,
No,
too.
one
Early
thing-
on.
one thing- one thing we
fucking
gotta kick off
grandmother
with-
fucking pissing today. And
Considering
fucking
on the
scarred.
cyclist, considering on the cyclist of the podcast, we have to talk about this Tour de France
Oh, my
nonsense.
God.
It's all, I can't fucking sleep. This lady inserts herself into the race, and I want to say she hit one of the leaders. What did this? I can't even. I try to type this French sign in Google Translate because even I speak French and I didn't understand what it meant. I don't know if it was something political. So if it is, whatever. We don't need to go there anyway. She fucking runs out on there holding her cardboard out, smiling at the camera, and next thing you know, there is, I don't know, what would you say, 150 cyclists pileup? It was one of the worst I've ever seen in the Tour de France. Bikes were broken.
Did anyone out front get away from it, or did
Oh
everyone
yeah,
go down?
There
couple
was a
guys.
couple on the left. Oh, you are laughing.
nice is that?
Oh,
See you guys.
yeah, yeah.
Just put it into like a
Let me
really
pull around your
relaxing
sound.
gear.
Yeah, let me turn this thing. Yeah,
You start walking it up a hill.
Yeah, and then and I think one of the leaders and a 2-time Tour de France winner was the guy that she hit, and he was banged up. Nothing was broken, but tons of swelling. I don't know if he's even continued. I kind of stopped following it because I got to worry about knowledge in the hockey field. But just ridiculous. What do you guys think the punishment should be for this lady RA who stepped onto the track?
I didn't read the whole story, but I saw the headline on the way down that the Tour de France is going to sue this woman. Now,
They are.
I don't know how suing works in France or what they'll get off her or what she's worth, but I mean, she fucked everything up. I mean, that's just a huge clusterfuck. I don't know why they don't have barricades there. I guess they've been doing it for so long without them, but
It's
I don't
the
know.
biggest no-brainer what they should
Yeah.
do.
Was it Bartman, the guy in Chicago with the Cubs?
Yeah, but he
Yeah,
didn't.
I mean,
he
He
didn't.
didn't even
he didn't-
do anything.
No, he really
no.
didn't.
He
No.
just not at all. But well, Cubs fan may disagree. But the only thing you can have her do, she's got to get an old BMX and she's got to do the Tour de France. Doesn't matter if it takes her 2.5 years. That's her punishment. And there's a couple police officers.
tricycle.
There's a couple police officers following her with like bread and water, and she's doing it until she's done. There you go.
And people on the sidelines can throw tomatoes at her.
Yeah, I mean that's going a little extreme. That's
isn't that a
like-
European thing? When you're getting booed, you get
I think it was like an old time theater thing. I don't know if it was strictly
Shame.
Europe, but yeah, they would throw like rotten fruits and veggies at you and shit.
bread.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were
going
thinking of
on,
Game
G?
of Thrones.
No, that was just funny. Which is he wasn't picking up your joke there,
Which one?
the tomatoes joke.
Oh, throwing the tomatoes.
No, I don't think it was a joke. I think he was being serious.
I was partly joking. What else? Let's stay on topic with the Tour de France. One last thing. Oh, this could have been my year. I
Cycling.
could have been at the
Oh,
front
yeah.
of the pack at the left side and completely dodged that.
No, but that's something you said you do and you didn't do.
Shocker. Like he hasn't done
that's
that
been
before.
a big thing. That I was going to wait her. I don't have to wait her. We'll get to that at Borelli's. But you said you do the Tour de France training. You actually texted me on the side though the other day. And he goes, "I want to get back into cycling." I didn't know you were ever in it to begin with, but still, I did. I should mention that you are looking to get into the game.
I am.
Okay, we can talk hockey.
Yeah. All right. First, the Pucks final start tonight. Hoops are going to be starting soon, so make sure you hit your local liquor store and load up on the new 375 milliliter Pink Whitney Mickey right there between
Not
Sonk,
Bargain.
between Biz and Whit over there.
Middle
if you
guy.
haven't got them yet, they're all over the place. Actually, who was the figure skater with the bottle I saw on Instagram? What was her name? Did you catch-
I have.
Are we
no,
in the Olympics?
I don't know if it was the preliminaries or what? It was a Canadian figure skater.
Summer
Oh,
Olympics.
it's Chaz
Summer
Michael
Olympics coming
Michaels.
up.
He was gassing a 350 mil.
Well, either way, stock up on him if you haven't gotten him yet. And we do got a pair of beat writers joining us later. It is the Stanley Cup final, of course. Game 1 is starting as soon as we record this podcast. We have Eric Engels from Sportsnet, who covers the Montreal Canadiens, and Joe Smith, who covers the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Athletic. So we got a little insight from both guys, so hopefully you fans will appreciate that. But first, Stanley Cup Finals. A very unlikely match right here. Montreal versus Tampa Bay after 800, I'm fucking blind even with my glasses, 868 regular season games and 79 playoff contests. Just 2 teams left. A total clash of styles, Biz. We got the penalty killing of Montreal versus the power play of Tampa Bay. Defending champs versus the Cinderella. And here's the other stat. Since the Cup final went to a best of 7 in 1939, the winner of Game 1 has gone on to capture the Cup 61 of 81 times, which is good for a 753 clip. But the last 3 years, the Stanley Cup winners all lost Game 1 and went on to win the Cup. So another story angle. But first, let's see how we got here, Biz, okay? Montreal, Vegas. Another huge upset. Vegas was a 320, 340 favorite. They end up losing in 6 games. Montreal, what's your take on that whole series, Biz? Go to you first, as the resident Habs fan here.
I mean, biggest thing, obviously, the first line. I don't know. They said they weren't injured. They said they weren't banged up. I don't know if that's just someone who doesn't want to give excuses and they thought they had enough, and everybody at this time of the year is playing a little bit banged up and they just couldn't get it done in crunch time. Obviously, I would imagine a lot of energy and emotion spent on the series prior against Colorado because they just didn't look like they had that fire. They couldn't get past Montreal in any which way and create and generate, especially that top line. Like that was, and the biggest thing, and listen, let's compliment the penalty kill for the Montreal Canadiens and Eric Engels when he came on earlier in the year when they were having their struggles. I think their power play was ranked 21st or 22nd in the league, and he just couldn't understand it because he knew it was that good. He said it should be ranked 5th. Well, I think they've killed off, 30 straight penalties? It might be even 33 or something right now. The Vegas power play, they couldn't even gain momentum half the time with.
They couldn't even get in the zone at some points. It was a clinic. And it was also just, I mean, you could say what you want as like a fan of Vegas, but it seems like every year they getting deeper into the playoffs and they can't score. And so you just like wonder what happens, and you got to credit Montreal like you're doing, but Stone to have all zeros across the board.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's like now Pacioretty looked good. He was battling injury for sure, right? I mean, they missed him for a little bit. He looked good, but in the Montreal series, he didn't get much done. And it was just more about a team that I think is willing to play that shutdown style. Like Elliot Friedman calling that Montreal the
Islanders light.
Islanders light. If he's saying that, like it is similar. I mean, that's why people are all over me. Montreal, they get it done in the not as exciting as Tampa, right? Like, Caufield is so fun to watch, and he scored some beautiful goals, and the OT winner by Lehkonen was great, but, like, overall, to win, they have to play a boring style. Vegas could not get through any sort of neutral zone. Neutral zone, they shut them down the entire time, and then when they even got into the zone, they were finishing them off. There was no cycle, and then when you can't get your power play going, there's no chance you're going to win a series. The thing is now is they're going against a different animal in Tampa's power play, one of the best I've ever seen. But that series, if you look at it right from the start, man, Vegas did not look great. And I know you bring up the Avs wearing them out, but for Caufield to step up the way he did, you could tell right away they had nobody to match that energy. That goal in Game 6, you guys, that move, to flip it to yourself like that and to be able to get the angle, and then he goes down and he goes top shelf, kind of in the middle of the net. Like, I'm not going to say that was a great goal for Leonard to let in, but still a perfect shot by the kid. And then it's right after he mentioned that he was talking about, I'm glad he's talking about that. I like to go possibly 5-hole. So he's got like a little cockiness and swagger to him that I think Canadiens fans love, and watching him play, I love.
Hey, I think Big Cat's FaceTiming us and wants you guys to answer right now.
Okay, let's bring Big Cat in there. I'm going to talk about the goalie distraction. Hi. What's up? We're in your studio.
I know. PFT jerks off in his seat.
That's all good, buddy.
Biz
We were
feels at home.
just talking about actually getting cranking off. When I was younger, my mom used to walk in because I used to forget to lock the door.
No, we were going to christen your office.
We're actually going to have a big circle jerk right now.
You're sitting in my seat. Do you know how many times I've farted in that seat?
I mean, dude, you want to talk about farting? You're talking a biz. If he has a piece of pizza after eating all healthy in Scottsdale, he starts just ripping bombs the whole time he records.
Yeah.
You know when your stomach gets used to healthiness and then you go on the road and you're a disaster?
Hey, last question, because I want to see you guys in a second. But you can buy Grinelli a Rolex, but you can't buy him a new phone. What the fuck am I looking for?
Well, I don't know, but you can't buy a cleaning lady to clean your office? You're the richest guy here.
I said that's called Philly football. He's not doing his job.
Billy Football cowered to me when he saw me
Slave labor.
after he buddied
Not cool,
me.
Big Cat.
He broed and
Not
buddied
cool.
me.
All right, we're back to hockey. The goaltending situation. That was just a distraction to take our minds off the power play and really lack of offense when it mattered.
What did you think about how
You
called the whole thing that Fleury was going back in for Game 5. My argument, and looking, it's easy to say now, but play Leonard after he got the win in Game 4, and then if he wins, you just ride him, and if he loses Game 5, you go back to Fleury back at Game 6.
Yeah, every
listen, it's easy
goaltender
now.
I've talked to and texted with said they would have went back to Flower for Game 4. Now, we've already talked about the fact that decision had already been made. DeBoer said anyway, he could have been just doing that to protect the overall breakdown of why he was doing it and when. But people said once Leonard got that Game 4 victory and was going back home that they should have went back with Leonard. Now, once again, the goaltending thing isn't. That's why I kind of outsource it to all these goalies. And they said, yeah, at that point it gets a little fucked up. But once again, here we are talking about the goaltending situation when that wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
At all.
Exactly.
It wasn't.
Game 5 didn't matter
but
who
you
was
can
in.
change the vibe. I know what you're saying, but it is no excuse whatsoever, and it was not the reason they lost. And the other thing about that series too is like Brendan Gallagher, how he was able to get in Petrangelo's kitchen, and I mean, honestly, it doesn't really even matter that Petro was getting rattled and into it with him because he was the best player Vegas had all playoffs.
Yeah.
So it didn't slow him down, but that's just what this Gallagher does. He's got that Marchand. He's not as skilled offensively. He's not that elite level offensive player like Marchand, but to get in your face and piss everyone off, he's the exact same player.
So we pretty much broke down most guys with Montreal, with Eric Engels. A few guys we didn't talk about was Gallagher and the impact he's made. And I agree with you. It's just like he'll find a way to make an impact however he can, whether it's him blocking shots, whether it's him coming out of his rhythm and game to like engage and be chirping all the time, although that might be something that he can do comfortably. Another guy, Armia, we didn't talk about, who I believe is going to play in Game 1 because he's taking a private jet down. They thought maybe he had COVID, so he had to stay back in some type of protocol. But, I mean, that's an important piece going into this. I think behind Danault, of course, for the offensive impact, but we're talking about the penalty kill and how big of a deal it's been for Montreal. Well, he's the second forward in ice time behind Danault as far as how much he kills penalties. So, they're going against the juggernaut Goliath here, who has the best click and power play over the last.
It's a joy to watch. It's a pleasure to watch.
It's a pleasure to watch.
As a power play guy,
they're going to need that guy who knows exactly the routes to take and how to kill penalties against this team. And if he's not in Game 1, look for that to be maybe a reason why it swings Tampa's way.
A few more notes before we bring on Eric Engels, then we'll talk about the Tampa Bay
I got a couple
Islanders
more
wrap
thoughts,
up.
so.
Vegas forwards only scored 5 goals in the whole series. Cole Caufield had 4 himself. Vegas scored just 13 goals in the whole series. I mean, we already dissed their offense already. Power play was 9.3 during the whole playoffs. For a team with that much talent, I mean, like you said, they couldn't figure it out, not just versus Montreal, versus anybody. They were bad all playoffs. And I think the biggest story, Biz, from this series was Celine Dion, native of Quebec, just ditching the blue blanc at rouge and bedding down with the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, she's just leaving her home province. What's up with that?
I think on a serious note, there was a fake picture that was circulating around the internet. But now saying that, when she did a show, when Vegas got to town, she did throw a jersey on and she was strutting out there. Now, I think that, whatever, at the time it probably looked innocent, but obviously this photo recirculated and everybody got all worked up from Quebec. So I think Celine Dion's on the hot seat, so she better be supporting the boys in blue, red, and white. You say blue, red, and white for the Canadians, or blue and red?
Blue blanc et rouge. That's what I was always taught. I don't even speak French, so figured you might have known that.
No.
All right, yeah.
And the other thing that's interesting, too, is that Suzuki is a smart player. He's got so much skill. He's young. He works great with Caufield. And for him to be a part of that deal for Pacioretty and to see how he played compared to Max in that series, it's nuts. It's a good trade, I think, in the end, and it's really hard to judge. It's been 3 years. Pacioretty's an elite offensive scorer, but Tatar was part of it. A second rounder was part of it. I don't know who that pick was, and then Suzuki. You got a possible future number one center there. So it was
not to put salt in the wound here, but I was going to say something that Vegas probably has to look to address in the offseason is trying to. I mean, they don't grow on trees, and we know how hard it is to get them, unless you're Buffalo giving them away. They got to get a first-line center.
True number one.
A true number one.
I think they go after Jack Eichel this summer.
Ooh, maybe.
I don't think. Can they afford him? I mean, they'd have to move some pieces.
Well, didn't they try to move Pacioretty at the deadline? So what if they
did this year?
Yeah, wasn't that a rumor? It was a rumor.
I don't remember that rumor, but I don't
We
remember
like
the
rumors.
train.
We
I
like
don't, I don't
rumors.
remember the morning today.
We like
so.
rumors around here. Let's go with that.
Okay, yeah, we're a rumor guy. We're a rumor mill.
Patches to Buffalo, Jack Eichel.
Anything
gold
else
bucket.
in that series?
Stone said he actually got skunked. That was the word he used. I got skunked this year.
Yeah.
Like, when you get shut out playing fucking, I don't know, horseshoes or fucking volleyball. or
Price
something.
was money, though. He had to save a Marsh or so in game. He's just...
I mean, he was unbelievable. And to bring that up, let's see. When his team can clinch a series, last 6 appearances since 2008, .959 save percentage, just 7 goals allowed, 2 shutouts. I mean, he looks like the goalie from 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago when the fucking Habs in the playoffs. Sorry, brain fart. Sorry.
When the fucking...
Hey, I could save it, though, because I got a fun fact. You guys like fun facts, don't
Is this the Montreal-Toronto in the playoffs one?
No. This is Montreal ended both Winnipeg and Vegas series at 18-21 of the first overtime. Isn't that bizarre? If you look online, there's all these things that are aligning.
That is bizarre.
There's a lot of things in this run that are aligning with their 93 Cup run. And this one, this is just another one icing on the cake. I thought that was...
And then the other one that, the whole team of destiny thing with the Canadiens, it really does have some sort of weird feeling to it, this run. And then to hear that every single time the Canadiens have played the Leafs in the playoffs, the winner of the series has won the Stanley Cup. That's a little weird. That's a little odd. Ooh. Now the crazy thing is, I don't even know if that's 100% true.
No,
the last time they played before this year was 40 years ago. They played, 40 something years ago. And they were
Stanley Cup.
The Canadians beat them twice in the late 70s during the Canadiens dynasty, and then Toronto beat them probably
when there
in
was
the
4
40s
teams in the league.
Hey, dude, that's what the Canadiens built their legacy on, you scumbags. Nope, just kidding.
Also, too, Alec Martinez was playing with a broken foot as well. I
think he's up, isn't he? So they got to figure out what they want to do with him. I think he's a great piece. I thought him and McNabb looked awesome during this run. There's a couple other guys who stepped up to the plate, and I think even Martinez chipped in 2 or 3 goals. So
he is nasty. I didn't know he's a shutdown demon. He led the league in block shots. That's a big time player you want to try to keep.
Hey, how about him scoring the winner in OT to win a Stanley Cup? Wouldn't that be
At home
in LA?
And it was a sick play. He got backdoor, right? It was a backdoor goal.
I don't know. I don't even care. I'm just wondering if he was single at the time or not. Could you imagine the next 2 weeks
Hold on,
of your life?
let's just take 6 minutes and then Chris in the office.
He'd be like Dana Beers, the blowjob king.
It's unreal. Dana's saying that. Jesus.
We're gonna get Dana Beers on. at some
Dana
point.
Beers is coming on.
He was. He joined us in the West Coast Wagon Tour. Should we bring him in right now or no?
No, not right now.
A little later.
I know that he's not here currently. That's why.
If we're going to transition into the Cup final, my only concern. No, we're not.
Not yet. No, we're going to throw it to Engels in a second. No, we're going to you soon, Biz. We got to get you. You got to tell us all about
No Days Wasted.
All right, I'm going to pull it up.
Actually,
before Biz, what's Pasha pigeon tossing Caufield at the draft? That was in the notes.
So I wrote down
Habs.
pigeon tossing.
Okay.
Pasha, he's not that kind of guy. So Cole Caufield, it was his draft. I think he ended up going 15th. Was that Jack Hughes' draft?
Yeah.
So Jack, he's probably trying to sniff his fucking seat. Pasha's the biggest New Jersey Devils bagger.
He's a seeker.
He's a seeker. He's a full-on seeker.
He's the guy outside the hotel. He's a seeker.
He's still in Arizona, by the way. He
never
came down to do that McDonald's project with me 6 months ago, and then he just hasn't moved out of Fairmont. He's been at the Fairmont Scottsdale for 6 months.
Yeah, but it's like $20 a night, and he gets drink tickets and stuff. He's got the greatest deal in the world right now.
Yeah. Speaking of blowjob king, where was I? Oh, so they're at the draft, and Cole Caufield walks up to Pasha as he's having a conversation, probably trying to get through security to go see Jack Hughes. And he says, hey, I love Biz Does BC and all the stuff you do with Chiclets. And Pasha was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And like kind of like smiled and like that was it, and kind of like pigeon tossed him. So like next thing you know, Pasha's in the crowd, the draft's going on, and number 15 overall, the Montreal Canadiens, Cole Caufield, and Pasha's like, oh fuck, I just pigeon tossed the 15th overall pick. I would have, but that
no, it wasn't even that. I heard this story. Pasha was just like, no, I could have asked him what Jack Hughes' hair smells like. They played together this year, so that's probably why he was legit pissed off, because he could have seeked on Caufield. We got to get involved with him. I think him, Pavelski, us, maybe get something going. The Wisconsin alums, I think I mentioned that, but he's got a cup to try to win first.
So I got a FaceTime from Joel Edmondson the other day. They were out grabbing lunch, and Cole Caufield was with him, and the conversation, the shirts came up. So he FaceTimed me. So I got to say hi to him, just smile ear to ear. Seems like the happiest guy to be around every single day.
How about the video that you guys tweeted
out? I just wanted to tell that story because I got a FaceTime from a guy in the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, that was what it all
led to. A big day.
We sent the tweet out. Where did that video come from? Caufield looks like he's 12 years old. And the kid's like, oh, he buried on the breaker. He's like, every time. Shelf. Or what was it?
The National Development Program.
That was from that?
Yeah. I mean, he looks
I guess
so
he
young.
looks young now, but yeah, I think he's a legitimate star. And Engels will go into it, so we'll go to him now. But first, we got to talk about No Days Wasted.
All right. Live ad.
Try to.
Here it comes. You guys think I can handle this one on my own? It's a small font. The hockey gods have treated us well with the NHL playoffs, and it's time for you to treat your liver well. We are deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs, and you might be knocking back a couple beers or sipping on the birdie juice. So you need to be ready to conquer your next morning and make it to work without feeling useless. DHM Detox has your back. It's your ultimate drinking buddy and is the vitamin for when you drink and celebrate. No more feeling like a bag of bricks the next day after boozing. DHM Detox is here to help with liver support, help break down toxins, and get you feeling fresh the next morning. It's also perfect for bachelor parties or just some good old drinks. Also, Canada Day, 4th of July are upon us, so make sure you're prepared for the celebration. Whit, I'm going to hand it over to you because I got to grab a sink of water. Take 2 capsules after your first few drinks, and it goes to work.
Double up with another packet if you're having a big night. DHM Detox is part of our drinking routine, as well as thousands of Chiclets listeners. The packets are easy to share with friends and family. They've got recovery bundles with DHM Detox and Hydration Replenisher, Biz can't say that one, an electrolyte drink mix that helps you hydrate and helps boost your immune system with vitamin C, D, and zinc. Check out the bundles for the ultimate recovery experience and never miss a beat, so you can hit the early morning meeting, work out, or just feel like a normal human being the next day after crushing a few drinks. DHM Detox is a 100% risk-free purchase on your first box, so if you don't love it, they'll refund you. This is a no-brainer because of that reason. So at the very least, give it a shot, and if you don't like it, you get your money back. We're going to hit you guys with a promo code. Just head over to nodayswasted.co and use promo code Biz20 for 20% off. That's nodayswasted.co for no days wasted after drinking with Snout 20. I mean Biz20.
DHM Detox. Yo, we hit that ad read like
that was the best. That was the best reading. I was
Fleury and Leonard.
Ready. I thought you were going to do the whole thing.
That was a Fleury and Leonard ad read.
I'll still clap for you now, man. Oh, I did want to mention before we move on quickly to Engels. Fleury Leonard, bravo for the relationship those guys have. Who knows if it's all bullshit? I don't think it is. Rooting for each other and not letting egos get in the way. So congrats to them on a great year. It was not their fault. So here we go right now to Eric Engels.
Well, the last time we talked with our next guest way back in March, it was right after the Canadiens fired head coach Claude Julien and the team was floundering a bit. Well, as the famous philosopher once said, things done changed. Since then, the Habs are now gearing up for Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. So what better time to bring back Sportsnet's Eric Engels to discuss how they got from there to here. Thanks so much for joining us, Eric. How goes it?
It's fun, man. This is a ton of fun. You guys having fun?
Oh, it's a blast. I mean, what better is this? 2 contrasting styles, the most famous franchise in the league versus the defending champions, and you couldn't draw this up much better. Now, are you in Tampa now? Are they even going to let you go with all the regulations? What's the story?
I'm on my way after Game 4 in Canada. We have this 14-day quarantine rule that disappears on July 5th, and I'm double vaccinated and ready to pop off and get over there, so I can't wait. And, it'll be my first time covering the Stanley Cup Final in 14 years covering the league. Canadiens had a tough time getting there, but here they are now.
Well, so you must be fired up. This is your Super Bowl, like you say. You're finally in the Cup final. You're following your team. And when we talked to you last, don't even try to say you saw this because nobody did. What was going on there with the coaching change and what had happened? What has been your experience in seeing this entire thing turn around? And is it really based on Carey Price and how things changed?
Honestly, I really think that the Canadiens underperformed throughout the season, and I felt that way the whole way. And I was wondering after their first 10 games when they'd get back to showing that they were the type of team I thought they could be. I wrote at the beginning of the season that I thought all of Marc Bergevin's moves were excellent, not only because he filled holes and bringing guys like Joel Edmondson and Jake Allen and Tyler Toffoli, Josh Anderson and Corey Perry at the league minimum, but because he got the guys that actually were the perfect fit for what he was looking to do. And I felt that they were built to play in the playoffs. And there was no way I could pick them coming out of the regular season when they backed in, having lost 14 to 21 games, and then their last 5. So, I was the only person at Sportsnet that said they were going to lose to Toronto in 7 games. And I'm not saying I put money on them winning, but let's just say that I did feel that it was very possible. And the biggest reason why was because I looked up and down the list of the players that they have and who they are and what their pedigree is. And Marc Bergevin said it himself. I didn't bring in Stanley Cup winners here by accident. And I really believe in those guys. I believe that the dynamic in the room was extremely healthy for a couple of years leading into this one. Now, we haven't been in the room for 15 months or 16 months or however long it's been. So I don't know obviously the evolution has been pretty good. But beforehand, I really did believe that they had such a healthy room that they should have been doing better. And I was really surprised at what happened in the regular season because I really felt they underachieved. So it's pretty remarkable to see them get here the way they did. They've come together as a team, and it's been incredible to watch.
One of the things you mentioned last time we talked was how I think their penalty kill was ranked in the 20s, but yet it should have been ranked 5th or in the top 5 anyway. What changed in that regard, and what did you see then that finally started clicking in order for the numbers to change?
Honestly, I have no idea. The strategy didn't change whatsoever. It's just that everybody seemed to get on the same page. And I think that's what penalty killing comes down to, right? Like if you have one guy who's not reacting the right way to what the other 3 guys are doing, you're kind of screwed up there. But yeah, I remember Witt was asking me about the power play, like what's going on with the power play? I was like, what the hell's going on with the penalty kill? Like you look up and down the roster, like this team should be one of the best penalty killing teams in the NHL. Well, now they've broken a record in the playoffs. It's 13 straight games without a goal against, 30 straight penalty kills. I mean, that stuff is absurd. I don't expect it to last against Tampa Bay, but if they're even 3/4 as successful as they've been so far, it's going to be a recipe for success for them.
One player who was really struggling when we talked to you back in March was Carey Price. And the team, of course, brought in Sean Burke as a goaltending coach. Did he do anything specifically to fix Price's game? Was it just a matter of getting a veteran like Burke or a retired guy like Burke in his ears to fix some things? What exactly did Burke do?
I don't know that it's Burke specifically, although having a guy like him who's been through every experience as a player that Carey's been through. And I've gotten to know Sean Burke decently. Like this guy is he's a really interesting guy. He's a smart guy. He's very passionate. He's very down to earth. He's got his philosophies. He likes to say that no goal is a good goal against, that like if you're getting scored on, you've done something wrong, even if it goes off 6 guys and ends up behind you. And, that mentality is one thing. I think another thing is that the move itself to fire Stefan Waite was a shot across the bow to Carey Price. And now, you look at everything in retrospect and where he's at right now and what he's done in these playoffs. Like, it seems like a really long time ago, but people forget, like, he came in to the playoffs off a concussion. Like, he missed the last segment of the season with a concussion and jumped into the playoffs and has literally played like the Carey Price we've always seen in the best games and the most important games. So he's been ridiculous. He's on a mission. And I think one thing about Carey Price, like, his leadership is so undersold, just because of his body language and his calm demeanor and the way he is with the media. When he steps up after game 4 in the Toronto series and he's asked, for years you've been putting up these incredible performances and the team can't score more than 3 goals for you. Are you not frustrated at this point? They got blanked on home ice and scored 1 goal a game before. And he goes, no, I'm not frustrated. I believe in this team. I face them in practice every day. I know they can score and they're going to. And that moment, I really think changed everything here because in this day and age where the players kind of, oh, we don't listen to this and we don't hear that. They see and hear everything, and I guarantee you they heard that, and it meant something to them, especially coming from a guy like Carey Price.
Do you think he's thinking about Olympics at all? Do you think that's creeping into his head at all right now? Or are you laughing because it's like, no, he's focused on the prize at hand?
Yeah, I think he's 4 wins from the Stanley Cup. I think the only thing he's thinking about is that right now. The Olympics.
No, I don't think it's. I think it's
are locked
he's,
in. You know,
he's trying to solidify himself as one of the greatest Canadian goaltenders of all time, and in the next 9 months, he has a period of time to do that. Obviously, the Stanley Cup is one of the things he's missing, but another gold would kind of put him in that category with Raw. I was just wondering if it was a topic that came up in one of these media scrums if he puts a lot of emphasis on it.
He's already there, and you know what? It's one thing for what I think, what Whit thinks, what you think, what RA thinks, what Mike thinks. Like, the players have been calling this guy the best goalie in the world forever. If Andrei Vasilevsky's on the mantle now based on the playoff poll, well, great. These two guys are going up against each other in the Stanley Cup final. But I'll tell you, like, my personal opinion, and I think most players that shoot on Carey Price on a daily basis and most players that have to play against him in this league would probably say to you that if they needed one goaltender for one win, and their life was on the line, they'd want him in net. And I can't think of a guy in Canada who's better than him. I think him, Marc-Andre Fleury, and probably Jordan Binnington will share that net, but that's so far in the future. And who knows if they'll actually be in China. We still don't have a firm commitment there. But, man, like, this guy is finally there in the Stanley Cup final, and this opportunity was taken away from him in 2015 or 2014 when he got bumped into by Chris Kreider the conference finals. I think they would have gotten past the Rangers with that team, and who knows how they would have done against the Kings. But he's a man on a mission. He's playing just out of his mind.
No
Price
such thing
like,
as a stupid
hey,
question.
Price is crying right after they give the cup. They're like, what did it mean to win the cup? He's like, no, I made the Olympic team. I did.
Hey, wait.
Like, Carey, the cup's right there. He's like, no, I'm going to Tokyo.
Is it even in Tokyo?
Oh, no, that's Beijing.
Hard hitting journalism around here, Eric.
Yeah.
That's it. Hey, listen, no such thing as a dumb question because it led to all this. Pat on the back, Biz. Way to go.
I got a question. I got a hockey question, though.
You got a good one?
All right, you were waiting. I apologize. You go ahead, buddy.
Just because it was Price related. Going into the playoffs and given the way his season went, be honest, did you think we were going to see Jake Allen at some point in the playoffs?
No. Like, when it comes to Carey Price, I always expect that when the games matter most, he's going to show up and play. And I know how much these opportunities mean to him. We talked a couple of years ago about, the reset and the rebuild and having to be kind of a witness to this youth coming up through the team, guys like Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, Caufield had just been drafted. And he's kind of like, I'm on the back nine of my career here. Like, I need chances to win. And of course, it excites me to see the young players coming, but I want to see. I can't imagine there was anyone in the Canadiens organization who was more excited about the guys that Bergevin added in the offseason. When we spoke to him coming into training camp, he looked at his team after going through the practices, the first practices of training camp, and he just said, "We have everything we need here." And he was asked by Kyle Vakauskas after the Game 6 win over Vegas, like, how unbelievable is this? And he said, it's perfectly believable. Like, he genuinely believes in what the Canadiens have, and he's a big reason why they have a reason to believe. And I don't know. I would never bet against this guy in the playoffs, ever.
Another guy is Shea Weber I need to ask about. And when you talk about making trades, the giant trade with Subban and him, it's about making your team better, a better chance to win the Stanley Cup. I think no doubt at the time, like Shea Weber defensively, you have a better chance of winning with him. But for a little while there, Subban had some big years in Nashville. It didn't look great. It's flipped around now to where he's playing this mountain man hockey, playoff hockey. Is he healthy finally? Is he just more confident? What has kind of helped him really find his groove again there?
I don't think he's healthy at all. First of all, he came into the playoffs. He came into the playoffs with a busted left thumb. I was told that he tore stuff in there and probably needs surgery. I think he busted his right one on Ryan Reeves in the first game of the Vegas series. And he's just an animal. Like, this guy is an animal. And you speak to, I did a piece for his 1,000th game and spoke to all his defense partners, whether it was Yossi or Ryan Suter or Ben Sherrod or go down the list, a bunch of guys. I can't even remember all. Vlasic was one of them for the Olympics. Like, everyone says the same thing about this guy. It's just like his presence is larger than life. and that he will do absolutely anything to win, and that he's the most respected type of person you could ever have in a room. And I just, I've gotten to know him pretty well. And the thing that I'll like, here's a story about Shea Weber, okay? Like right after the Subban trade was made, I get a one-on-one with Shea Weber and I get one with PK also. Like this is the first game that they're supposed to play against each other. PK ends up being hurt, so he's not part of the situation. But this is before they go to Nashville in preparation for it. And I'm asking Shea Weber about Shea Weber, which is like his least favorite topic. And then we start talking about the Norris Trophy, the fact that he's never won the Norris Trophy. And he turns to me and says, that year that Drew Doughty won the Norris Trophy instead of Erik Karlsson, like I love Erik Karlsson. I think he's amazing. But Drew Doughty so deserved to win that. And I was so cheering for that because look at what he does. He'll block every shot. He clears the puck every single time. He can skate it out of the zone. He can play on the power play. He plays on the penalty kill. He plays 25 minutes a night. He plays against the best guys in the world. He does everything. And I know like we're in this new school era of we want to see puck rushing, puck moving defensemen. And that's the premium that everyone is interested in the NHL. But I just have respect for guys who do everything. And I think that was as close as Shea Weber has ever gotten to talking about himself. And that is who he is, who he's become. And there were guys who were telling me like, when he comes to Montreal, you're really going to miss PK because he's not a good quote and this and that. And like, as I've gotten to know Shea Weber, he is one of the best people I have met in the game and one of the most enjoyable people to speak to when you get a chance to get him in that situation where he's one-on-one. And, I can see why he commands respect from virtually everyone. The guy is just, he's everything. There's nothing missing there. Like there's nothing that you meet him and you expect to see something completely. No, it's exactly what he shows you is exactly who he is. And I just think the biggest trait I look for in a leader is, are they like, they can't ask you to do something that they're not willing to do themselves. And I could never see Shea Weber asking someone else to do something that he's not willing to do himself. And he instilled this culture where, he would turn to a veteran in the room and say, why are you having the trainers carry your bag out? Like, are you too tired to carry your own bag to the truck? Like, that's the kind of thing that, like, you notice it on the road. Like, I'm on the road and I see Shea Weber carrying his own bag to the truck all the time. And this became a thing. But not only that, he gets every other guy in the room to do it because that's the way he was raised and that's what he believes. So it's just a sample of like what kind of guy.
He's like, what the fuck is your Weber bomb? Give me a fucking Weber bomb. You talked about defensemen who can do it all, Petry, and you saw how much they missed him in that first game against the Vegas Golden Knights. Did you hear as to what maybe the injury was when he got it caught? And I don't even know how the fuck they ended up getting him from Edmonton because that is an absolute banana land steal. This guy's like top 10 defenseman in the world now.
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, I don't know if I'd rank him there, but like maybe he deserves to be there. He's like, we're going 4 years in a row or 3 years in a row of over 40 points, and this year in a 56 game season, he caught his fingers in the slot where they put the cameras, and I was told that he dislocated a couple of them and also would need surgery. And I think they reset the bones, and we ended up with that situation where I don't know if he was screaming or puking or what, but he burst those blood vessels in his eyes.
I heard that he.
Oh my goodness!
I heard that. The rumor I heard is that when they put the fingers back in, he like passed out. Basically, shut his eyes so hard from the pain that he popped the blood vessels and passed out. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
That wouldn't surprise me either because I've dislocated the fingers on my right hand playing street hockey, and I was skating and there was sand.
You just woke up
on the street, and I fell while I was still holding my stick and dislocated my fingers, and I'll never forget when they reset them. It was an awful experience. But I'll also say this: I got a cast on my hand and was supposed to wear it for like 4 weeks, and I was 15 years old and just playing sports like an idiot, and I ended up breaking the cast after a week and a half. And I was just using the fingers, and the more that I was using them, the better they were feeling. So I don't know if he's feeling better now, and I wouldn't compare my injury situation to
Warrior,
even though I just did.
Warrior.
Yeah, right. But the Edmonton thing, like I spoke to Craig McTavish about that. He said it's one of the biggest mistakes he's made in his career. He still regrets it to this day. Wishes Jeff well. I thought while he was in Edmonton, he wasn't treated very well. He was brought in from college, expected to be a shutdown defenseman when he had only been an offensive defenseman his entire career. They were playing him 22 to 25 minutes a game straight out of college, and with a team that had zero insulation for him. And that became a very old story in Edmonton about defensemen just being sacrificed to the fans. And this guy was a whipping boy there. And it got to a point where it was so bad where he literally would go hunting with Ryan Jones, who was his roommate. And just to get away, just to get away from everything, to cancel out the noise. And I think it was so hard on him and his family. I sat down with him and his wife at their home and talked about that whole situation. And, he said the one guy who really, really, truly helped him and was great to him was Steve Smith. And Steve Smith was running the assistant coach running the defense, and had his own trials and tribulations in Edmonton. He cost them with a big own goal and has to wear that for the rest of his life. And it's a mistake that happens in an instant and breaks up a dynasty. And we all know, the Oilers still had a bunch of time to tie that game up and win it and continue on with what they were doing. But it's interesting to me that it ends up being him. Petry also has this connection with Roger Clemens through his wife, and his dad and Roger Clemens played together, but his wife, her father was coaching baseball or something, and Roger was involved with something. They're from Houston. And Roger Clemens had a lot of advice for Jeff Petry that he's basically taken over the years to build up his mental game and not get bogged down in the mistakes he makes. And he writes down the things that he does so that he can forget about them and let go of them. So he's been a fascinating story, and to come into his own in his 30s and just put up career season after career season. The most important player on that blue line, obviously, because without him, boom, they lost game 1 against Vegas, and since then, here they are now.
Yeah, I was there with Petry. It was Steve Smith is an awesome guy, great coach, and I think he understood that this kid's getting treated like shit. He's young, like you said. What was the trade though? Who came back?
He was traded for a second and a fifth, and the Oilers fans are still,
Edmonton had this fucking 6'3" guy who skates like the wind, playing 24 minutes. They give him up for a second and a fifth.
It was a conditional fifth too, by the way. Man, that's so funny.
Good shit.
He was traded out of there. He was traded out of there. First of all, he was a pending UFA, and was basically told by his agent, they don't want to sign you. They probably think it's better off if you just move on. They trade you, whatever it is. He's like, all right, I've been through it. I was willing to re-sign. If they don't want me, just trade me, no problem. And then he got a call to go in and talk to Craig McTavish, and McTavish kind of said, I don't know what your agent's telling you, but we want to try to work it out. And he was just totally mixed messages, really strange stuff. And at that point, he just said, yeah, just trade me. It's okay. Just trade me.
Yeah.
He lands in Montreal. They go to the playoffs, go on a run right away. He gets exposed to this and signs a 5-year deal immediately, which to me is an incredible story because he went through hell in Edmonton. It was brutal there. And for him to sign in a market like Montreal after just a few months and a short playoff experience, that was crazy. He signed a long-term extension to be there. But
yeah, you thought it was bad in Edmonton, Jeff. Wait till these guys get on you.
You can't believe. So he in his words, he experienced just what it was like to step on the ice at the Bell Center in the playoffs, and that was it for them. He was sold. He's staying in Montreal, and I think there's been a lot of players since that have had a similar experience, that they were worried about being in Montreal, but the minute they got exposed to what the franchise is actually like, what the organization is, they just wanted to be here. So he's a great story, the star who stayed essentially. And yeah, the trade for a second and a fifth, Oilers fans are probably still puking about this to the point where they're probably bursting blood vessels in their eyes.
They can't even blame Shirley for that one either. It was before Shirley.
I thought they sold their soul to get to the Cup Finals, and it was time to cash the check. Tough crowd. Is there a delay on this, or?
No, that was just a dud. You mentioned his dad, Dan Petry. He won a World Series back in 1984 with the Tigers. I'm curious. I mean, it's still a ways to go, but if his son can end up winning a Stanley Cup, you got to wonder if that's the first father-son combo to win a World Series than a Stanley Cup. Maybe getting the cart a little in front of the horse here, but you mentioned a few minutes ago, Eric, players hear everything, they see everything, and I know teams in other sports, especially like the Patriots here in New England, they use disrespect as a fuel, or maybe they even invented the disrespect to use it as a fuel. Is a lack of respect from the media and bookmakers a factor at all here, or does this team not even need any of that to do what they're doing right now?
No, I think of course it's a factor. It's a rallying point, and it's like the most age-old rallying point for any coach. They live for that shit. They'll just run it into the ground as far as they can go, and they're lucky. You know, like every team they've played, they've been such an overwhelming underdog that, you know, it's not like the media has to stir it up. You know, the first series against Toronto, it was easy, right? Like all of us at Sportsnet picked against them. Everyone at ESPN picked against them. And, you know, they just pasted that shit on the wall and said, like, fuck you guys. Like, here we go. And I think that was just as much a help to them as much as it did hinder the Toronto Maple Leafs with their history. And as the series went along, obviously the pressure shifted to them. I don't know about you guys, like watching Game 7 of that series, there was never a second during that game that I felt the Canadiens were going to lose. Like not even 1 second. And I would even suggest that going back to Game 6 when Jake Muzzin went down, I knew the Leafs were in big, big trouble. So I just think since then, it's so easy to count them out. They sweep Winnipeg and nobody has to say anything about it. Like we didn't make extra picks in the second round or third round or whatever. And the odds, they went into the Vegas series, the biggest underdogs in 30 years as Stanley Cup semifinalists.
That's what it was?
Yeah. If you were betting on those games, you made a killing. Seriously. Like this was, at one point, the Canadiens were plus 280 in one of the games. I was like, this is a joke. This is amazing. And it's just, of course, the team is going to fuel off that. But at this point, like, they believe in themselves so much because they've found a recipe, right? Like every time you watch the Canadiens play, you're seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And, you know, I just think hockey's the ultimate team sport. I love that. Like to see them come together. If I look up and down their lineup, I can't think of one guy that I would pull out for someone who's sitting on the sidelines right now. Just everyone's doing their job. And that's the beauty of this sport. Like on football, you're going to bet the quarterback and the coach most of the time. In baseball, you're betting the pitcher. You know, in basketball, you're betting the favorite because there's never an upset.
NHL, you're betting the goalie though.
In NHL, yeah, you're betting the goalie, but in the playoffs, when you get to the Final Four, you know, who are you betting on as the goalie? So who are you betting on between Price and Vasilevsky? Like you tell me. I mean, I just think it makes sense to bet on Tampa, obviously. I think I picked them to win. I was the only guy at Sportsnet who picked them to repeat as Stanley Cup champions.
I was the only guy at Chiclets.
I'm starting to regret it, actually, to be honest with you, because I think these Canadians have something special going on.
All right, so Cole Caufield goes to Wisconsin. I like how he stays the second year. He lights it up. He wins the Hobie Baker. You see college kids hopping right into the NHL the day after their season ends now. But no, he goes to Laval. He has 3 goals in 2 games in the minors and comes up. He looks great. And then we get to the beginning of the playoffs. Like, looking back now, how foolish and ridiculous is it to think that this guy was a healthy scratch early on?
Looking back now, let's look back at when he first joined the Canadiens and they were in a cap crunch and they could have figured things out and moved things around and it might have meant exposing someone or whatever it is. But like, I remember writing 5 articles within a 7-day period at Sportsnet about how badly they needed to put this kid in the lineup. And I had Canadiens fans coming at me left, right, and center. You're an idiot. You don't want to expose him. You're going to ruin him. I'm like, the best one was, you don't want to put him in this room with this culture. Like there's Shea Weber and Eric Stahl and Corey Perry.
That was my burner account.
And, like, what the hell are these people talking about? So the thing is that a lot of people didn't really understand what Cole Caufield is and what he's doing. And the kid is just a stud. Like he's a star player. He's spent his entire life filling the net. He broke Austin Matthews' record with the U.S. National Development Program team. And the best version of that team ever, by the way, like shattered his record by over 25 goals or whatever it was. And I watched him play at Wisconsin a ton. I watched about 50 games this kid played before he came to Montreal. And everyone, the biggest mistake that people made about this kid is saying he's a sniper, he's just a goal scorer. No. It's here. His hockey sense is elite. And one of the things he does best, and wit, like I'd love to get your thought on this, is I would never compare Cole Caufield with Evgeny Malkin. But Evgeny Malkin, for me, his superpower, his entire career has been one thing that, well, he's got a million of them, but he's got one thing that he does better than almost anyone. He reads transition so well and puts himself in motion right at the right time to make the D-to-D outlet the easiest pass possible so that he could take advantage of his other skill set, which is his hands, his shot, and all that stuff. I just find people will say, oh, he's cheating out of the zone. No. It's his read is so good, and he makes himself the auto pass out of the D-to-D and I just feel Caufield is so good at that and is such a sample of what his hockey sense is. And it enables him to get into motion and do those things that he does in the offensive zone that are so impressive. I know it sounds insane to compare those two guys. One of them's a center and a lefty and he's huge. And the other guy is a shrimp who's, got all these different abilities. But I just find that his hockey sense that brings him into motion in the right times to get the puck on his stick while he's skating 100 miles an hour, that is to me the most unheralded skill that this kid has. And it's why people have really misread what he's about. He's not just a shooter. He's a playmaker. He's a hockey sense kind of guy, very smart, cerebral player.
I was going to ask about Danault, because I think at the time we talked to you, I'd say other than Carey Price, he might have been the other guy that was probably under fire the most. And, we just didn't see that offense this year, and where he was supposed to contribute was defensively. But the last, 6 weeks to 2 months, he's completely turned around and shut down some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, and last time I joined you guys, I said, I think one of the most unfair things imaginable was when his contract negotiation leaked out while he was struggling. This is a guy that, if you know Philip Danault, he cares so much about the Canadiens and was there during some lean years where he gave heart and soul to the team. And for him to be painted in the public as the bad guy for turning down a contract that he had fully earned, essentially, the comparable was Jean-Gabriel Pageau, signed 6 years, $5 million. The rumor was that Danault had turned that down. He had earned, by the numbers, something better, although not pandemic adjusted. And I didn't believe for a second. I said to you guys, I'm going to speak to the people involved, Don Meehan, who's the agent, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this one way or another down the line when the time is right. That I didn't believe for a second that Don Meehan's move was, oh, you're giving me 6 years, $5 million for Philip Danault, and he just hangs up on Bergevin. No, that's not how this shit works. So I just think that was so unfair. And look at what he's done since. This guy in the regular season, he's going to get you 40 points. That's what he's done for the last number of years. It's not going to be an issue. And he was on pace to do the same, despite the fact that he went the first 24 games without a goal. In the playoffs, have you ever seen a player have more of an impact scoring 3 points up until
I was going to say,
he's unbelievable. It's not just him, the synergy he has with Artturi Lehkonen and the Canadiens' 4 pillars on defense. It is really quite a recipe they've got to shut down some of the best players in the world and their biggest challenges in front of them.
Just a quick one, all right. Does he ever get the Guy Carbonneau comparison, especially early on, maybe with where he's going?
It's coming now, right? He's elite in the face-off circle. He's shutting down the best players in the world. And Guy Carbonneau, go back to 1993. He asked Jacques Demers to cover Gretzky. They lost the first game of the series, and he went into Jacques Demers' office and just said, "You give me Gretzky, and I don't care. I don't need to score. We've got the other guys who could score. You give me Gretzky, we'll take care of him." And he did. Gretzky had, I think it was 4 points in the first game or two, and then I think he had 4 points over the next 3 total. So that's the lure of Guy Carbonneau and the shutdown D-man and centerman. And I think Philip Danault fits in that category. He's that type of player. And he loves this team so much. And he's such a nice guy. It was really sad to see him painted as the bad guy within the fan base and what people were saying about him, because it was so the antithesis of who he actually is and what he's about.
Assuming those numbers are spot on, do you think his price went up during the playoffs? And if so, how much?
I don't think so. I think, the pandemic situation, the contracts that were signed by Radek Faksa and Adam Lowry are going to affect him. I will say, though, that the market's going to pay him, right? Like, he's a pending unrestricted free agent. There is a team out there that is willing to pay him probably what he wants. I believe he wants to stay with the Canadiens. I believe there will be a compromise to be had that they'll find in the offseason because, damn, like, I don't think they want to lose him. And I don't know what it comes in at. I don't know if it's 5 years, 4.8 or 5 mil or whatever it ends up being, or maybe it's a little bit less over a longer term or a little bit more over a shorter term. Whatever it is, it's going to be worth it. Like, this guy, that skill that he has of shutting down players is not going to dissipate over time. It's not like you're looking at a 30-year-old goal scorer and saying, in 2 years from now, we're going to be really paying for this contract. So I just think he's proven his worth. He's a tremendous player.
Well, hockey's a religion there, and obviously the pandemic's hit Canada hard with the vaccine rollout and everything. But is there any chance Game 3 comes and they maybe open it up to 10,000, or they do something to maybe change, how few people are in there the first 3 rounds?
Not based on what I'm hearing, unfortunately.
Wow. Shocking.
I know it's hard for people to get, and Quebec's numbers are some of the most encouraging in North America in terms of percentage of people with the first vaccine dose. I think is around 80%. Second vaccine dose growing by the day, ton of vaccination happening. And the cases are down to under 100 a day, and hospitalizations and deaths are way down. My opinion on this is a little outside of what, I would love more than anyone to see 21,273 people pack the Bell Center, especially since it's been 28 years since they've had a chance to root for their team at this stage of the playoffs. But I don't want to see us take another step backwards. I'm all for us moving forward. And if that's part of this, Montreal is going to a green zone on Monday, which means everything is essentially open. And I don't know if that will come with a drastic change in the attendance numbers. If we get to 10,000 at the Bell Center, I think it would be great. If we get to 5,000, it'll be something. But I'm all about just taking steps forward and none backwards. And I'll say this, I've been there with 2,500 in the building and 3,500 in the building. And I'm not sure there's a building in the NHL that would be louder with less fans in it. The atmosphere is incredible. So I wonder if it comes through on TV because it's been great.
Do you think the fact that it was Saint Jean Baptiste Day on the day that they clinched to go to the finals, that it was so chaotic outside the building? Because that's what the people were arguing. They're saying there's 25,000 people outside the Bell Center downtown. Why can't you just put a few more inside?
It definitely raised the hammer level a little bit outside. I think people had a long day of celebrating before we got to that 8 p.m. start. And, but yeah, I thought people were going to go nuts anyways. And in the end, a few police cars got damaged. None of them set on fire. And, I don't know, a couple dozen people got thrown in jail for the night. And that's a win in terms of Montreal playoff celebrations. Because in the past, it's been a little bit crazier. And who knows what's going to happen moving forward. All I know is that night I was pretty happy that I was leaving a couple hours after everybody dispersed from the building, because we had a cameraman that got out there to shoot some scenics, and some pepper spray was out in the crowd that got to him even. So it can be a bit of a scary scene, but I think it's worth it. And yeah, the contrast between the outside and filling the building, it's there. But, I think we know what this virus is all about in terms of indoor and closed spaces. The other thing is managing the building, right? I don't know how they've been doing it in the States. If it's just a free-for-all or they've put in all kinds of extra.
Oh, the Garden was a free-for-all.
Depends what state you're in, I suppose.
Here,
exactly.
There's 3,500 guys. There's 3,500 people in the building. And you don't just get up and leave to beat traffic when the third period has 5 minutes left. They're calling you out by section to let you out of the Bell Center. And everything is roped off, and there's extra security everywhere. It really is quite organized, but this is everything they have to do to get this past the government and get this happening. So, yeah, we've been a little stricter in Canada. There's been some positives to that and some negatives to it. So it's, I hope it opens up, and I hope we see people there. But like I said, if we take another step backwards in this thing, I don't know how much I can handle it.
Eric, back in March, we talked about the Bergevin, as he's become known on the show. We talked about his job security back then. Obviously, he has more than salvaged his job. I want to talk about his emotion. It's not something you typically see from GMs. I mean, it's great. It's great to watch. It makes for great videos. But is it something that people bust his chops about just because he's so over emotional? I don't want to call it over emotional, just so emotional.
I think he's gaining fans with that. Honestly, I really think him wearing his emotions on his sleeve like that, his heart on his sleeve. Like, I think a lot about Marc Bergevin over the last 9 years and what he's been through and trying to build a team the way he wants to have it and all the turmoil and, goes through the first 5 years, does everything kind of the right way, doesn't make a wrong move, Petry among them. And then he goes through a 1.5-year stretch where everything he does blows up in his face. And Jeff Molson allowing him to set this reset into motion and keep his job. Like, how many things has he done wrong since? Everyone looked at their moves in the offseason and thought they were great. They have drafted more players of any team outside of Detroit in the last 3 years. They have built up consensus one of the best prospect pools in hockey, and you're seeing the fruits of it now with Kotkaniemi and Suzuki and Caufield and Romanov, and go down the list. There's a lot of guys that are in the organization that are on their way up, about 5 left-handed defensemen that are going to bolster the position, and look at what they already have on the main roster there. This guy has done everything he can, and I just think his read, a lot of things just needed to fall into place for him too. Like, his read on what they did in the bubble last year, from Suzuki and Kotkaniemi stepping up to Weber and Petry and Weber and Price still playing at the level expected of them, gave him the incentive to load up in the offseason. His owner has deep pockets and was willing to spend money at a time where a lot of teams were not willing to do that. He spent over $100 million of Jeff Molson's money, whether it was re-signing Petry and Gallagher and then getting all those new guys in. And he is stuck to his own guns, right? Like, he brought in Eric Stahl and brought in, John Merrill and Eric Gustafson, and everyone was just kind of like, what the hell are you doing? And it didn't look good in the regular season, and now it looks great in the playoffs. And, to see his emotion pouring through, I think, is a sample of how much he has been through and what this means to him. And I think he's gaining fans with it, for sure. There was a lot of people who were lining up with pitchforks at his door, but, he deserves the praise too. He's done a pretty great job for the majority of his tenure. Not a lot of people get the chances that he got, like that second chance in 2018. And wow, like, if this team wins the Stanley Cup, he made a joke about it saying, I could retire after we win the Stanley Cup, but I think he'll be back for a few years beyond this one.
Chris Lee, you guys, the fan base was all over this guy. Even you were a little bit on social media. That was not the best officiating we've seen. And do you think that it was justified by the fan base?
Yeah. I think this guy has not had a playoff assignment this deep in over 20 years. And, we're at a point now, I think we're at a real point where they need to do a real evaluation on officiating and the system in general, not just the officials themselves. Personally, I don't know if this is the solution. I've always believed that since we went to the 2-man system, there's a lot of inconsistency in what they call. I also think that they're always in the way. And the reason we had 4 guys and 2 linesmen when we went to 2 officials is because there was a lot of fighting and a lot of scrums in the game, and that doesn't exist anymore. So, get one of them out of the way, give 3 of them the powers to call the lines and the penalties, and get this thing sorted out. And in the playoffs, I think I'm like in between the old school and the new school, but like, my belief is in the corners and in front of the net, you need to fight for your ice. And if it's a battle where you're going to take a cross check or a slash or whatever it is, I'm fine with that. I want to see that. I don't want to see that called. I don't want to see that decide a game. But if you see a guy in a second retribution punch a guy like Nick Suzuki in the face right in front of the net, and you're turning your head and not calling it just because the Canadiens are already on a power play, you're not doing your job. And I thought it was farcical. Like, games 3 and 4 of that Vegas series were an absolute joke that they would let those 2 guys officiate after what happened in game 3. In game 4 was a mockery, and there's no accountability. Don Van Massenhoven was the series supervisor. I went looking for him in the press box. I would have loved to have gotten an answer from him on what they were thinking putting them back in.
I could set up a rough and rowdy if you want. It's not the first time, by the way. There was another time where I did speak to a series supervisor after a playoff game, a key playoff game in the conference finals. Or no, it was the first round of the playoffs, Montreal-Washington 2010. Montreal-Washington 2010, there were 3 diving calls against Montreal in game 6 of that series that they were trailing 3-1. Now, one of them went against Max Lapierre. Okay. Brian Giunta called for diving
with no tripping penalty associated to it. Like, I was trying to look, like, how many penalties have situation in the entire season, let alone in Game 6, an elimination game in Montreal where Yaroslav Halak is making 53 saves or whatever it is. Like, that was insane. And I remember speaking to the series supervisor, and I'll keep his name out of it. And I remember just saying, like, what the hell was that? Like, we had never seen that. 3 penalties against one team for diving, and one of them is against Brian Giunta, who's never taken a dive in his entire life. And
I'd love to see these penalty calls.
You're calling him by himself and sending him off the ice without a tripping call associated to it, which is something that never happens. And he looks at me and goes, well, I thought the officiating was even worse in Alaska. I'm like, so what are you guys doing? So there's no, I don't know. I think fans want to see accountability. I think players want to see accountability. They have to answer for the bad penalties they take or whatever it is. And everyone has to pay a fine when they rip the officials. Let the officials or the supervisor, if you have a supervisor for a series, let him talk on the officiating if the officiating is an issue, and revamp the damn system because it's broken. It's not working properly when nobody knows what a penalty is and people are ignoring blatant stuff like someone getting punched in the face right in front.
Yeah, it's been rough this playoffs. I had a couple quick ones for you. How many stitches did Corey Perry end up taking in his nose, and what was the extent of the damage? It almost looked like his nose might have been hanging off before they stitched him up.
6 to 8, and yeah, that one was the like, you're 4 officials that are allowed to call that. The linesmen are allowed to call it. The refs are allowed to call it. And it's a play on the puck. But it was the
worm. If it wasn't the worm, they probably would have called it.
It's a play on the puck. Like, what else are you watching if not that? It makes no sense. The other thing that has driven me nuts about officiating over the last, couple of years is the disappearance of goaltender interference. That we never call it anymore unless it involves a goal that we're trying to decide if it's a goal or not. Like, guys are getting run over in the crease and nobody calls it because the play is not going to the crease.
I say make them fair game.
Like, Carey Price got concussed getting run into on a play and there was no penalty on it. So I don't know. I just think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be looked at in the officiating.
I'm sure our viewers are going to wonder when this goes to YouTube, is that a painting or a video game behind you? And if so, what's it of?
That's a painting of Saku Koivu scoring on Andrew Raycroft. Andrew Raycroft has seen it, actually. And my wife painted it. She absolutely hates hockey. But when we met, she's a great painter. And I said, well, would you paint me something hockey related? And she's like, I've never done it before, but sure. So she picked out a picture and she knew that Saku Koivu was my favorite player growing up. And
brilliant job. She did a brilliant job.
Then I popped the question, RA. What was it going to do?
There you go. Yeah, that's a no-brainer after you get a gift like that. And I got one more, too. Is that a Bob Marley T-shirt?
Yeah, he's playing soccer.
Ah, there we go. Nice. I'll have to honor him after this interview.
There was 2 other things I had to ask you about. Was Ducharme having to sit out through COVID protocol, and then Luke Richardson stepping in and doing a tremendous job. Some people have even said that, this type of run and what he's done for the team might lead him or end up getting a head coaching job somewhere else. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think executives would be willing to ignore the shortness of the sample size with Luke Richardson and offer him a job. I mean, how could you not? You hear what guys like Ben Sherratt said about being willing to go through a wall for Luke. We've spoken, obviously, over the years with all the defensemen who he's been in charge of, and just said, this guy will never pull out the iPad and start ripping you on the bench for a mistake you make. He's going to encourage you. He won't even say anything to you if you made a mistake. He'll roll you out on the next shift, and then he'll take you aside in the room after the period and say, hey, here's a couple things we need to focus on, whatever it is. You see it just watching on TV if you're just an average fan, how calm he is back there under the most pressure possible. That was great. Ducharme, too, has really impressed me with his calmness and the way he handled this whole situation. He obviously installed the system that the Canadians are adhering to, but both these guys are 2 of the most fortunate rookie interim head coaches in the NHL ever, because look at their room. Look at who they have. It's Shea Weber, it's Corey Perry, it's Eric Staal, it's Ben Sherratt, it's Joel Edmonton, who we didn't even talk about this whole time. It's unbelievable. Jake Allen, go down the list. Tyler Toffoli, Josh Anderson. This is team character. It says CH on the jersey, and that's what it should probably stand for when it comes to this edition of the Montreal Canadiens. Like, those guys could not be luckier to have that group of guys to be coaching in their first year as head coaches. So And the whole story is just nutty. It's emblematic of what this whole 2021 shit show has been. It's just insane.
Didn't some of your buddies have a message they wanted to relay to Whit via you during this interview?
They told me that I need to rip him because he's all over the Canadiens. I have no idea. I kind of missed. I'm in and out. Your episodes are like 4 hours long, so I'm listening in my car when I'm in there. I must have missed a segment somewhere, but Whit, what don't you like about what you're seeing?
Well, you said you were going to Game 5 in Tampa, and according to Whit, they're not going to make it there. So that's why I was a little concerned from you off the hop.
Why? When did I say there was going to be a sweep?
All right. I back off.
There you go. Good call, Biz. -4 this interview. I just can't stand the Canadiens. I don't know. Like, I'm from Boston. The thing is, I'm not even a Bruins fan. I guess I grew up one, but I hated the Canadiens. And then when everyone wanted Chara arrested after that hit against Petry, that was like, holy shit, typical Montreal. Now, I respect the hell out of this team, and I will not be disappointed to see them win the cup because they have so many guys that deserve it. But in the end, I'm not rooting for the Canadiens. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a panderer like Biz.
No, I like that. You got to stay true to yourself. But I will say, I was thinking about it today. Like, if there was a Canadiens team that a Bruins fan would actually like, it's this one. And when you see guys like Edmondson and Sherratt, the Bash brothers on the back end, or what did Luke Richardson said, the 4 guys that he's got are like 4 Chris Prongers. This team plays so hard. They're so in your face. And I asked Bergevin at the beginning of the year, based on all the moves he made, I said, did you use the Bruins as a template for how to build this team? Because I kind of see like you went for a reset instead of a full rebuild.
Player like Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson for sure, a guy like that. But just keeping guys like Weber and Price and Petry and Gallagher and Danault and building around them instead of ripping the whole thing apart. And just, I think the Bruins were a great model. I think the Blues are another model that he borrowed from, especially when you look at what he did on the back end, which is really cross current. Like those 2 guys, Edmondson and Sherratt, like Bruins fans should love those guys. They should, I think those guys are so underrated.
Throwbacks.
They're great, but the thing is, like, you're playing 4D, right? Like, good luck next series if they want to kind of continue 24 minutes for 4 guys. It's just they haven't played anyone like this. It's an amazing story. I don't think they're going to win, but it's one of those things. Once I heard that Montreal and Toronto, any single time they've played in the history of the playoffs, the winners won the cup. It's like, all right, that might be the final straw.
Well, I know you're not a huge fan of the Islanders, but do you see
There's
any
scumbag fans? That's the only issue.
Do you see any similarities between the
I hate
Islanders?
fans. I hate fan bases more than the teams, if that makes sense.
Elliot Friedman called them the Islanders light, didn't he?
Yeah, Canadiens fans hate that too, obviously, because
Elliot,
I think they got better goaltending.
They're their own team, but I'm just wondering, do you guys not see similarities in the way the Islanders play and the way the Canadiens play?
Yeah, it would have been like the Spider-Man meme if they did play each other. The Spider-Man pointing at each other. So.
I was watching Game 7 between Tampa and New York and thinking to myself, okay, this first period, everyone's freaking out, but Tampa's got 14 shots. New York has 6 or 7. I'm sitting there watching this period saying to myself, this period is being played on New York's terms. I don't care if there's 14 shots on net. And yeah, there was that one little half breakaway chance that they got from Hedman, but like the whole period and most of the series was played on New York's terms. And if they steal away the middle of the ice, and the Canadiens, I think, have a better goaltender in Carey Price, and I think that they are more dynamic in terms of the way they create offense, and they have more guys going in depth. It was a one-shot series with the Islanders. Like the Islanders were very close to beating the team that the only person at Sportsnet, chose to win the Stanley Cup again this year. And I just think, the Canadiens, what they've done in these playoffs, what they have found is a recipe for success. And the fact that everyone is pulling the line the same direction, it's why they're doing it. And I don't expect that to change in the final, but I think Tampa is, the greatest team in this league. And
Goliath.
That power play is lethal. And I don't think the Canadiens can continue what they've been done on the penalty kill against them. So at 5-on-5, they're going to have to make the difference, and they're going to have to come up with power play goals, and they're going to need their defense to step up with some scoring as well. So it's going to be an incredible challenge, but I'm not betting against the Canadiens. I can't at this point with everything that I've seen.
Mayfield already tenderized Kucherov's ribs for you guys. So I'd imagine Edmondson hops on board and gives them a few right to there.
I don't think any of those guys are going to have, like, if I was a player, going up against those four guys would be a nightmare for me. Like, I didn't like that stuff to begin with when I was a player, and playing at this level. Wow. Like, those guys are just savages out there. And it's Ben Sherratt, like, that guy is so old school. He's a throwback. And Edmondson, I'll tell you this, guys, like, Toronto Maple Leafs scouts wanted to sign Joel Edmondson, and they were told, stop bringing up his name. He doesn't fit with our style. And if they had that guy, like, they would still be playing in the playoffs. Like, that was what was missing from that team. So, and I just think, the analytics community hated on him and the way he moves the puck and this and that. He's moved the puck better than he ever has in his career in Montreal. But you got to appreciate guys for what they do and what they bring. And Sherrod and Edmondson are perfect examples of that. Good skating, huge guys who are just nasty. And I remember I texted Shea Weber after Edmondson signed in Montreal, and I said, what do you make of what people say about this guy? And he said, you'll see how much fun he is to play against. Like, you'll see. And that's what they've got going for them. They steal the middle of the ice away and make it really hard, even against. And when I was watching Tampa play New York in Game 7, I saw them forcing things to the middle quite a bit against a team that does it really well too. And that's why it was a 1-0 game scored on a whole play off the bench on a penalty kill by Yanni Gourde. Like, that series could have gone either way. This one between Montreal and Vegas, I don't think could have gone either way with the way it went. Like, the Canadiens beat them soundly, and they did the same thing to them that they did to the Jets and the Leafs. They broke them physically and mentally. And that, I think it's going to be hard for those guys to swallow, because they look at what's on paper and say we're better than these guys, but they don't. The Canadiens clearly don't care. They found their recipe and they're going with it.
Yeah, the PK versus PP, kind of the old irresistible force versus immovable object type thing, it seems like. Before we let you go, Eric, have you made your prediction on the series yet?
I'm not making a public one, but like I said, I'm not betting against the Canadiens. So I think you guys know where I'm going.
Letting you get away with that?
Well, I've got my own, no, because my prediction's already in that Tampa was going to win the cup.
Okay. Fair.
But I'm fine. If I end up taking the L on that one, then, well, it won't be the worst thing.
Then that's a win for you.
I just jumped team to team. Me and Celine Dion, we're all over the place. Vegas, Montreal, back to Vegas, Montreal.
Who's on your T-shirt? What's on that?
This is the burger van, because RA one episode. I think RA was being dead serious when he called him the burger van, and then we just figured these are probably some of the guys that he'd want on board. We got Cole Caufield, Carey Price. Who else do we got? Granelli.
Looks like Weber.
Bergevin, Shea Weber, Carey Price, and Cole Caufield.
And we got a couple other ones. What's the other one? We got Cole Caufield and
Hablander. Are you a fan of The Boys, the show on Amazon Prime?
Well, first of all, I got buddies that have already bought the Cole Caufield T-shirt, and I saw his brother bought it also. I think you're missing. Now you need a Nick Suzuki special in there.
Yeah, let's talk about him quickly before you leave. He is, he's everything that they expected and more. Probably, a little bit of a dunk considering that Vegas gave up on him, I guess. Just talk about the impact that he's had.
Never forget the first conversation I had with Nick Suzuki at a development camp, and this was after he just ripped it up at Guelph and went to the Memorial Cup and had 42 points in 24 games of the playoffs. And I turned to him and I said, speaking to an amateur scout, it says he's not sure that you have the intensity because you don't play at 100 miles an hour like the new school guys in the NHL. And he just looked at me and said, it may look like I have a smile on my face when I'm playing, but I'm one of the most intense players you'll ever see, and you'll learn that about me. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, here's this kid. He's like humble Canadiana, exactly what you like about Canadian kids, but he knows exactly how good he is. And he truly understands how good he can be. And, his heroes, Patrice Bergeron, that's who he wants to be. His skill set is ridiculous. He's such a genius of a player, but he does it at 200 feet. And what he's proven in these playoffs is his competitiveness is not the thing that you turn to first when assessing his game. And maybe it should be, because when you saw him get smoked by Braden McNabb, and like the only reason that he got up from that hit was because he's smart enough and actually saw it at the last second, because he almost got the lights turned out. And the way he snapped back up and what he did after that, it just speaks to how competitive he is and how intense he is. And I think that's kind of a screw you to everyone, because there was a lot of people that didn't believe that he had that in him, even when he was ripping it up in Guelph and they came back from down 3-0 in the first round against London and continued this run that they were on. And, he just tore it up. And I think that really got to him. I think it really bothered him that people said that about him and thought that about him. And I think he probably believes that it was a factor in why Vegas looked at the Max Pacioretty deal and threw Thomas Tatar in a second-round pick and said, yeah, we'll give you Suzuki. We want to hang on to Cody Glass. Like, I think he probably looks at that and says, maybe you've made a bad decision, just like everyone else who has thought that I don't have that intensity just because I'm not skating aimlessly at 100 miles an hour here or there. Like, he plots his way around. He finds the dead areas of the ice. He's really smart like that, but he's so intense, and he's proven it in these playoffs. And he's 21. Like, he's got 20 points. I don't know what he's at now, whether it's 27 games or 26, over 20 points at 21 years old in the playoffs, and he's raised his game completely. If this is what he's doing now, I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing in 3-4 years.
So that's what the whole lineup, the Habs lineup, was saying to Pacioretty during the series, was thanking him for bringing over Nick Suzuki.
It would have been what I would be saying if I was playing on that.
Okay.
Bench. That would have been
good to know.
good, I think.
Make a mental note.
I will say,
News,
Patch left Montreal with the reputation of a guy that couldn't perform in the playoffs, and he ripped it going into the Montreal series before they shut down everyone in that top six. And I would say that Patch was the best player of any of the top six in Vegas there. I don't know what happened with the other guys, but they really lost up the middle. The center ice position is something that Vegas is going to have to address. And I'm sure they're sitting there saying to themselves, man, if we had Nick Suzuki, like, wow, what a difference it would have made.
Oops.
Yeah, his draft day photo is definitely making the rounds over the last few days.
Well, thank you so much. I know we've taken a lot of your time. Great insight as always. And go Habs. Habs in 4.
Thanks, it was fun, guys. You guys are great.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it very much. Have fun.
Thank you very much to Eric Engels. The guy is as dialed in with the Canadiens as anyone else out there. You could tell he's fired up to cover his first Stanley Cup final. Congrats to him. Before we move any further, we need to talk about hard dicks. That's right, a big old hard dick. That's what guys want, and most guys have tried different ways to last longer, but thinking about playoff stats and trophy finalists doesn't always work when you're getting after it. So the folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman Swipes, the secret to longer-lasting sex. Roman Swipes are a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. You don't want to be a two-pump chump. Get the swipes on, go to town. They're effective, easy to use, and fast-acting, but they do not require a prescription. You can just go get them. Walmart now has them. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. Something else goes in there, too, that'll maybe work its way into being used that night as well. They're super easy to use. Just take the swipes out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. RA says good to go. That's it. Go to GetRoman.com/Chiclets, and you can get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/Chiclets for a big old, long-lasting hard dick. Now, in the history of this show, we have had many instances of questions that maybe people listening at home say, what the hell was that question? But Biz just asking Engels if Carey Price is focused on making the Olympic team on the eve of the Stanley Cup final might go down as the dumbest one we've had.
Does it take over from the Eichel question I asked 5 years ago?
No, because that was still like, that makes me Biz has made me laugh. Yours makes me throw up. But Biz, how often have we had somebody we're interviewing just laugh at a question like that?
I don't think it's happened to that degree. And I kind of,
I respected him.
And I saw your face, and even RA, who's probably the most sensitive guy of the bunch, even was like, "Oh my god." I thought he was going to lose.
I'm the most sensitive guy of the bunch.
No, you sound like the most sensitive guy saying, "I'm the most sensitive guy."
No, in a sense of like you would have like didn't want to bark at me, like you would have been like more understanding.
Empathetic.
Empathetic.
Yeah, okay.
Excuse
I'm definitely
me,
the most empathetic.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I might be the most sensitive.
That's my middle name.
And this is a prime example because I was in my feelings about it because I I am a diehard Canadian, and there's nothing I want more for Carey Price to solidify himself as one of the greatest goaltenders of all time.
Dude,
And
that's another thing you said. What are you talking about? A greatest goaltender of all time?
Well, at least I said Canadian.
Okay, Patrick Waugh and Martin Brodeur?
Well, I'm saying that I think that with a cup and then another gold medal, I think he enters himself in at least that top realm conversation. Am I saying he's Patrick Waugh? Am I saying he's Martin Brodeur?
Oh, I thought
no.
you just said, did he not just say he was going to be the number one Canadian goalie ever? I'm sorry.
No, I said, well, did I say that?
You mean
Yeah, you said the greatest Canadian goalie
with an
ever.
A
Or one
with
of
an E?
them. Now you guys got me on my
I
heels
mean, I'm
again.
not.
You got me on my heels
I was
again.
just like, no, I was having a conversation. Like, oh, like I wasn't chirping. I was more just thinking, like, oh man, this is a legit argument.
Completely agree. It was one of those ones where it's like, fuck, you're. I mean, me and Dater, we've had a tough postseason.
The worst when I'm asking a bad question is knowing it's a bad question halfway through it, and then you can't even get it out, and you know the answer is going to be trash because the tee up was so bad. So I feel for you. It was just so funny to see the actual interviewee laugh.
I would say that sometimes I struggle with asking questions in general, where I'll start going too long, and then I'm like, I don't even remember what I started asking to begin with. So yeah, that's part.
Like, the guy's like, land the plane, bitch, please.
I answered the answer in my question. What else was I going to quickly mention there?
You want to talk about more fan idiocy, didn't you?
Well, going back to the fact that happened with Engels, I feel like every time we get one of these fancy Sportsnet guys on, because I remember when we had Merrick on, I asked him why it was called 31 Thoughts. I mean, like, I saw the look on his face, and him being empathetic, he didn't dunk on me like
Didn't
Engels.
he just say, well, it's going to be 32 thoughts soon, Biz? Like, he explained it like you were younger.
Yeah.
Which you got to respect.
Now, R.A., what you just brought up, going back to earlier, and the reason why I brought up Bartman when we were talking about the fan interference was with the Tour de France situation. What are some of the worst fan interactions and interferences throughout not only just hockey but other sports?
The worst one of all time isn't even funny, but it's Monica Seles.
Oh, God, that's a nightmare, yeah.
It's not, I mean, yeah, but you're saying worse, but fan interaction, number one tennis player in the world when she was like 17 years old. I don't know the age when this happened, but she was elite world-class tennis player, was down below the baseline near the wall where the ball boys and ball girls stand. She's standing there, or she might have been near the change table halfway court. What the fuck am I talking about? But either way, a fan came down and stabbed her in the back.
Yeah. I remember 94, I think it happened.
Dude, it was fucking horrifying.
Awful.
Yeah, she went down screaming. She gets stabbed. I don't know if it was more than once. And she came back and played tennis. She was never the same.
No.
But when you just brought that up, I just thought of like, that is.
She was never the same because of injury, or just,
and you know what?
or was
like
it just the shock and the horror of it all?
Trauma.
And I'm pretty sure he was a diehard fan of hers.
Yeah, I think he had some issues.
No,
upstairs.
but I think part of it was
Obviously.
he was obsessed with her.
Yeah.
If I'm making that up, I apologize.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of takes
the fun out of the
I
question.
didn't mean to Debbie Downer.
I got one. The fucking white trash father and son at the White Sox game who attacked the first base coach of the Kansas City Royals.
Oh my God!
They were straight out of Whiskey
Yes.
Tango magazine. Such like white trash.
They were
looking
scumbags.
I haven't heard of this one either.
Yeah, this was like this is probably almost 20 years ago. I want to say
Players came and
2002.
started pounding on them.
Yeah, they ran on the field like father and son had just attacked the first base coach of the Royals and started beating on him. Like,
And the
total
malice at
trash.
the Palace wasn't really I think it was our test first. The malice at the Palace, RA.
Well, no, I mean the fans.
But that's a fan interaction, a full blown brawl.
Yeah, don't.
Ty Domi too, when Ty Domi pummeled the guy in the penalty box.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep,
I would say he more accidentally fell in.
We're forgetting some big time ones for sure.
He kind of pulled them in too. It's funny though. You don't see
Nancy
too many.
Kerrigan. That's another downer.
That's not-
though.
Yeah,
That's
that was
another
an
Oh,
odd one.
Jesus.
That was a criminal conspiracy more than a fan interference. But it's funny you don't really see football play. I mean, people.
Who the hell is going to run next to one of those guys?
Exactly.
Now, speaking of fan interactions, I don't know if you guys caught the video of Patty Maroon leaving the ice after Game 6. When the guy was just middle finger right there, got the whole thing. And I think that Patty Maroon's got the last laugh, going for 3 fucking cups in a row now, boys.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say I told you I was right. I'm not somebody that likes to do that, but in the end, I was right. And Islanders, hell of a run, great team, scumbag fans. I just think that they're just maybe one player short. I don't know if it's one or two, but it's one guy that goes with Barzell. another legitimate star in the league, and he is one. I don't mean to jump right into the series. All right, you could take over, but I was right. You know, they didn't win the cup. I figured it out. I'm not waiting tables at Borelli's. I said I'm not serving penny island vodka to sweaty, gross Islanders fans. I'm just going to enjoy Tampa Bay winning, like I said. And the best move I had was I hammered the Islanders in Game 7. It was the ultimate emotional hedge. I said...
They call it the happiness hedge.
The happiness hedge. I said, I either move on and am right again about the Islanders not winning the cup, or they win and I make a boatload of cash. So it ended up working out the way I had hoped. I'm glad to lose that money as long as they lost. But it was a hell of a series and a great Game 7, even though it was 1-0.
I had the Boston going to Vancouver for Game 7 vibes. What was another one? Even the St. Louis coming into Boston for Game 7, where just it seemed like nothing went right for the home team, and they ended up figuring it out.
It was at Game 6?
No. In the Stanley Cup final, sorry, I did a shitty job of explaining that. I had the feeling that the Islanders pushed it to oh Jesus. I had a feeling when the Islanders pushed it to 7 that they were going to figure out a way to get it in Game 7 because I thought that Lightning was just going to lay an egg at home. But they ended up scoring the shorthanded goal and hanging on. Now, later in the game, did the puck hit the mesh and then they didn't blow it down? Because I felt that a couple Lightning guys were like, hey, that went out of play.
Yes.
But yet they still remained calm, kept a tight house, and ended up pulling out and getting the job done. Because there was a few chances and few cracks at it for the Islanders. Now I don't know if you even caught that already.
I did, and once
Edzo
again,
said something.
Once again, NBC didn't follow up on it. Like they've been doing piss poor job this fucking last couple of series. I think. Terrible replays, lack of replays. That situation, Edzo mentioned it, but there was no follow-up. There was no replay. The refs didn't blow the whistle. But, yeah, everyone was pointing. I didn't see the puck. I couldn't see if it did hit the netting or not. It did, at the end of the day, not matter. But going back to the idiot fans, that was probably the perfect segue for this series, given the way the Islanders fans throwing the shit on the ice after Game 6. I know it was the last game ever there, even though they didn't know at the time.
I would have been jazzed up.
You never threw shit. I'm like, no, I've never thrown a fucking half beer on the ice, full beer, anything. Like, it's fucking stupid, man. Like, those guys are whacking them down with their sticks. You catch a guy for nose, hit him in the eye. It's and not just to pick on the Islanders. The Tampa fans threw their fucking noisemakers on.
Yeah, but I do think that is a little different. You're a loser for throwing something on the ice, but those are like plastic air bubbles. Like,
but what if, seriously, I know it sounds fucking cool. What if a guy catches one off the fucking eye and can't, like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't see it.
I don't even think it would do anything.
And not to mention, fuck you. Not to mention, they're playing in the cup, man. It's like, you do that the last game of the season, you're going to act like an idiot. I don't know. I just not a big fan of throwing shit
I have
on
to
the ice.
agree, and the broadcast was hard on them too, but like,
people were big mad online too. It was like, come on. It was stupid and it was trash move by scumbag fans, Islanders, but it wasn't like
Villiers said he was afraid to go out there because he don't want to get hit by something.
And that was the line where Islanders, the most sensitive fan group base in the world, is like still trying to, everyone does it, it's not going to hurt him, it's an empty can. It's like, first of all, there's no way all those were empty.
No way.
And second of all, the star player who just scored the OT winner is saying, I'm afraid to go on the ice.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing? I'm sure there's been plenty of Islanders fans who've been like, those people are clowns, but a lot of defending going on by people who weren't there. It's like, what are you defending here?
But on the flip side, it did bring some funny memories, and I thought it was a funny send-off, although, yes.
Appropriate.
It was appropriate. I think the comment they had is, before we went in overtime, when we went down the tunnel, it smelled like cigarettes, and then after the game, it smelled like beer. And it just in typical Coliseum fashion, and that's how it all ended. So as dangerous as it was, I thought it was very fitting, and part of me can laugh. And if I was a player on the ice, yes, you could have got clipped in the face or something, but I would have been loving that.
And you know what, that game to go down 2-0.
I would have been smoking a cigarette.
You're just having a parley.
I go to grab one and drink the rest of it. Oh, it's piss. Jesus Christ, these Islanders fans are actual scumbags.
Thank God that arena. Oh my God, what a dump. But you got to credit what a dump. Like, that's done. You got to credit.
Hey, Witt's going to be the guy with the ball. He hired the construction.
No, let me tell you though, I ended up just owning them again in terms of calling everything. I called Tampa in 7. I said exactly what was going to happen. But there wasn't a part of me, and I would never, ever root for someone to be injured. I went through that. I would never want to see it. But when they were throwing cans, I can't lie. It was going through my head. If they injure one of their own players right now, I will own them forever.
That's true.
And listen, it almost happened. You saw a couple guys dodge some Coors Light cans. So still a pathetic way for it to end. But I was about to give them credit. That game to go down 2-0 and tie it up and then get the win off a huge pizza. I wanted Coleman. I wanted to just be able to go into the locker room and rip him for that pizza the way I got ripped for all my pizzas. But Beauvillier, excuse me, I always mess up his name, just snipes that thing. And it was a great effort by them to finish off the Coliseum's shitbag career, besides the early 80s.
Before we get to Kucherov pissing blood because of Mayfield's lumber cross checks, how much would you pay to be the guy who hits the button that implodes the Coliseum to put it to rest?
I wouldn't, dude. It's dead in my mind as it is already. It's already blown up.
I mean, empty cans don't travel.
No, I mean, I was expecting a funny answer, and that was hilarious.
I wasn't trying to be.
This isn't about the fans. This isn't about anyone else.
But if they get another superstar like Barzal,
oh yeah, it's over.
And they got to get Pelech signed. They have a lot of things going on. Actually, I still want to talk about Game 7 a little bit, but I interrupted.
They got Anders Lee coming back.
I was going to say,
Anders
Lee was a
they didn't
huge
have
loss.
him. Yeah, that's your captain.
I mean, but they should have thrown the cans at fucking Jimmy Fallon. I mean, he's across the street at Rangers games all the time, and all of a sudden he shows up in Long Island with the Karate Kid cheering on the fucking Islanders. Like, that shit's fucking fake as fuck, man. I mean, you can't be like a Rangers fan all the time and then like show up and wear an
I
Islanders
agree.
shirt.
If you're a bandwagon fan, you're an absolute piece of trash.
The cans at him. I would have no problem with that.
You're working with the biggest bandwagon fan of all time already. This guy was a Leafs diehard.
In Game 6, too, Braden Point scored a goal in his 9th straight game.
Oh, my God.
He didn't make it 10, but he's second all-time after Reggie Leach now. And then going to Game 7, 1-0, only one goal the whole game, only one penalty the whole game, and that's when the goal was, and it was shorthanded. Yanni Gourde, shorthanded from Cirelli and Cologne. He jumped on the ice. People were trying to say it was too many men on the ice, but
that's the new thing this playoffs.
Like if you still that, it technically is, but that's where it's called a little different. If that they had nothing to do with the play. Yeah. Gourde was on a legal change. He was the only one that mattered. If the puck had gone out to the middle of the ice and it hit a couple players' skates, they blow it dead.
I feel like people are just superimposing them from different shots.
I know. I was like, wow, there is a lot of guys on the ice.
They had 12 guys out there.
Hey, but that's an example.
The parking lot attendants on the ice. Well, wait a minute.
Mr. Borelli, what are you doing on the ice?
Borelli's out there. I did see, I think 6. It was 6 blue jerseys. I was like, whoa, that is a lot. But second assist goes to Killorn, but the play was made by McDonough, who had what a series, one of the best players on Tampa that entire series. And Mike Johnson on NHL Network did a great breakdown of the play, but he picked off a pass from the point. It was on the. It was
a read down to the corner.
It was a read where he knew the defenseman hadn't looked and thought he could shoot it down. He picks off the pass, and then most D-men fire it down right away, get the change. He kind of does a little head fake, waits it out, fires a pass up to Killorn, who chips it over to Cirelli. Killorn changes, Gourde pops on, and scores a goal after 3 Islanders players went to the puck. There wasn't much awareness. I think you're not checking behind you. You think you're up a man. You got to go pressure the puck. Gourde's right there, makes the perfect shot. But the play all started because of McDonough, who Hedman, McDonough, and Kucherov as their 3 left D is wild.
Sergachev.
Sergachev. Sorry, Russian.
Well, he can play D on the power play.
Yeah, he can do it all. I was figuring he would play. I didn't know if it was one of those things where he plays a shift and he's like, I can't do it. But there was moments he looked great. I'm sure, like physicality-wise, he was trying to stay away, but his hands were still there. He made a couple beautiful passes. He also almost had a goal on a little delay. So to get him playing was a huge win emotionally for those guys before it even the puck was dropped.
I would say Yanni Gourde is probably the least talked about forward too on Tampa.
That guy's awesome.
Cheaters.
There was also much talk, going back to Game 6 briefly, when Kucherov got cross-checked by Mayfield. He only played one shift all game. He did play Game 7. There was a lot of hullabaloo about that. I don't know, man. They've been letting these things go all playoffs.
Yeah, they have.
And it's like, what he did.
That one's a tough look because it's like it's blatant right in front of the ref, and he hadn't had the puck for at least a couple seconds. So to me it seemed more of like an intent to injure than making a play on the puck, because if he's got the puck on his stick and you give it to him, I can understand it. And listen, that's not me chirping Mayfield, because I watched him all playoff long. And
dude, guy.
If there's a common theme here, guys, and we know it's a copycat league, I think it's going back to getting 4 fucking bruiser defensemen who just beat the wheels off of guys.
Look at Vegas.
Look at fucking Vegas.
I know.
Look at Montreal.
Yeah.
Look at their top. I don't even think they play 5 and 6.
And look at who St. Louis had. Look at who St. Louis had when they won.
Yeah.
What was I just going to mention? What
I
we
have
call
no clue.
Gord.
Kucherov getting crushed.
Oh, Kucherov crushed that.
Piss and blood.
So Mayfield, first off, didn't know much about him. A few years ago, I didn't know if, call up type guy, didn't know what type of career he'd have. That player has turned into such a reliable defender, and he's mean. And I was going to say about that play, some people hate to hear it. It was kind of a great play in the playoffs, man. Like, you're going after guys. Sorry. It went after their best player. Horrible decision by the referee to not give him a penalty. No doubt, give him a penalty. I don't think it was suspendable. It was a dirty cross-check that ended up knocking the best player out of that game. So not only did he do that, he snipes the tying goal. He had about 3 inches to shoot the puck, and he put it right in that spot, size of my and I think that in the end, for him to score that goal after that cross-check makes him the most valuable player of that game.
Also, I tweeted Kucherov, when that happened, I'm like, hey, what goes around comes around, because he plays a pretty nasty game
he
sometimes.
does.
He's a superstar, but he can be pretty dirty behind the play, so it's kind of like, hey, you do that shit, sometimes it's going to come back to haunt you, and that was probably a case of that.
Everybody's like, yeah, fuck you, Kucherov, you piece of shit. How do you like it, motherfucker?
Yeah. He just
Send tweet. Like, oh, fuck, we're trying to get him on at some point. All right, pump the brakes.
Do you boys have any other final notes before we send it over to Joe Smith? His
Tampa
insight on
Islanders.
Tampa.
Did you guys take any more fan interruptions? Wasn't there a guy who ran out on an F1 track one time?
That's a tough one. You're going to get run over in that case usually. They're going 200 miles an hour. That'd be a ridiculous one to get involved with.
I think there was a guy in the guy in Buffalo when Rob Ray grabbed him when he was on the bench. Didn't he start beating the wheels off him? He came down and then ran across the ice, and I think Rob Ray ended up grabbing him.
Oh, and a ref buried someone in a hockey game. It was like it looked like the 80s. Ref just comes over and bundles some guy that's running on the ice.
So, folks, if you're on Twitter or Instagram, send us some of these clips. We always like reposting them, and we know they're old school style stuff. And speaking of social media, we're going to be doing live streams while we're here. So we're doing one tonight. You guys will hear this tomorrow, so obviously some of you won't be tuning in. Wednesday, we got some guys coming in to join us. It's going to be a surprise. And also Friday. Now, some of you who maybe you're not on Twitter, maybe you're not on Instagram, it's easy. All you can do is go to subscribe to our YouTube page, Spittin Chiclets YouTube page. Not only do we do these live streams, we drop these sandbagger golf things. We of course drop the why are you laughing, G?
I'm just so excited right now. Keep pumping it.
Let me hand it over to you. What other things do we post up there?
We do gaming on there. We do Chiclet story times where we animate the best stories. We post clips from the podcast.
We post the full podcast as well.
We have clips from the West Coast Wagon Tour. We have stuff from St. Louis, from Dallas, from every trip we've ever been on. We do behind the scenes vlog every trip we do on. We have a behind the scenes video. Sean's following these guys around the whole time. Subscribe to the YouTube.
Done.
Great job.
Biz,
I'm into YouTube now. I follow a lot of different stuff. YouTube. I can see why the youngsters are only watching YouTube.
I thought of another fan interaction. This is some way old school. I think it was 1976. L.A. Dodger Rick Monday. Some fans ran out in the field and they tried to set fire to an American flag. And just as they were about to, he comes swooping in and grabbed the flag at the last second.
Nice.
And saved the American flag. It's a pretty legendary interaction
one.
as well. It's a little more positive one there. It started bad, but
that's a nice.
I brought that down.
Thanks for elevating the mood back up, RA. And that's a great story to bring up around the July 4th, Canada Day. So all you Canadians and Americans, enjoy your holiday weekend and especially the Cup final. Now, are we sending it over to?
We're sending it over to Joe Smith, but first we want to have a quick word from ZipRecruiter. Everybody knows that looking for a job can be stressful and frustrating. You get ghosted, told you overqualified, underqualified. It's not fun, which is why you need to try ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter knows that the general experience of looking for a job is pretty sucky. Zip wants to help you make things easier for all the job seekers out there, which is why they're teaming up with Barstool to help us find the newest upcoming interns to the pirate ship this summer. By going to ZipRecruiter.com, you can see all the upcoming opportunities open for this summer. ZipRecruiter attracts the best candidates for us as employers, and as a job seeker, it's so easy to use. When you sign up on ZipRecruiter.com, you can create a free profile. Then you get matched to great jobs, plus a lot more. ZipRecruiter will proactively pitch your profile to employers whose jobs match to your experience. And unlike with other job sites, if an actual person from the company really likes what they see, they can personally invite you to apply for their job. Plus, if you like the job, you can apply to it and many others with just one click. It's that easy. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the number one rated job site in the U.S. So go to ZipRecruiter.com, sign up for free, and put ZipRecruiter to work for you. And don't forget, you can even search Barstool and apply now for our upcoming internship opportunities. No matter what type of job you're interested in, experience the better way to find it at ZipRecruiter. And now, Joe Smith from The Athletic. Well, I'd like to welcome our next guest to the show. He's coming to us from Tampa, where he covers the Tampa Bay Lightning for The Athletic, and it's his first appearance on the pod. Thanks so much for joining us on such short notice. Joe Smith, how's the atmosphere before Game 1, Joe, down there?
It's pretty crazy. I think considering all the fans that couldn't watch last year's Cup run in the bubble, you could definitely tell the energy where they opened up to 16,300 fans tonight. I'm sure it'll be probably more than that in the stands. But just kind of electric atmosphere. In Game 7 against the Islanders, it was as loud as I've heard it in a long time. So you can tell they're ready for something potentially special here with this group.
Do you think the fan base down there is still sort of underrated when compared to other fan bases? I've been to plenty of games there. I think it's outstanding. I think it still might have a little of that Florida stigma, but do you think they get their proper due, the fans?
I think for the most part, sometimes people who haven't been down here or haven't, watched them kind of grow the last number of years. They've sold out 250 straight games, and 19,000 plus, and the whole Thunder Alley there outside is packed, and the TV ratings are through the roof. So there's a very passionate fan base here. I think because the Rays don't draw a lot of people to the stands, I think people might clump them together a bit. But the Lightning, ever since Jeff Vinik took over in 2010 and Steve Yzerman, has really been pretty much world class, and you see the fans come out in droves to watch them play.
Now we were chatting beforehand. How long have you been covering the team for?
Since my first year was the 14-15 run to the Cup final. I was kind of like the backup writer at the paper there at the Times from 2010 to 14. So I was there for like their first run in 11 to the conference final against Boston, and then took over like full time in the 14 season.
What's funny is that loss to Boston in 2011, their win was very similar in Game 7 against the Islanders. It was 1-0. It was an amazing hockey game, and it was, in reading what you wrote about this team after that game, like, it shows kind of the guts they have, and that they can play, high-flying, skilled offense, but they can also buckle down and grind out shutout wins, they've proven. So you've seen this happen over time, and it's a long way of asking. It all goes back to getting swept by Columbus. Everything changed after that, huh?
It did. It took, John Cooper was asked after they won the Cup last year, what was the biggest change and what helped them the most? He goes, heartbreak, just one word. And, they had been kind of like the greatest show on ice for several years and regular season success. And they made some runs, of course, the Cup final in 15 and then 16 conference final, but they had to learn how to win both ends of the ice and defensively. And you started to see their core players, learn that and buy into it, and all the additions that they made the past couple seasons. Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman were huge parts. Pat Maroon, a huge part, both inside the room and out. Bogosian last year, and obviously you're getting some tough guys. So all the guys that bought into where you win 1-0 game, 17 shots on goal, that's also didn't have to do really much in a Game 7 against Islanders. I don't even think it was that close. They didn't have the puck for 15 minutes. So it really shows kind of how far they've come, and that's why I think they have a chance to win here, even though Montreal will give them a heck of a series, I think.
One of the names you mentioned, Pat Maroon, you wrote an article, and the reason why we love getting the beat writers on is because you guys have such a close connection to these players and can get stories out of them because of the access you get. This story ended up blowing up, and I'll read one of the quotes from it. I know if you're a progressive site, from former teammate Troy Bodie said, I don't think you can print a lot of them about stories about Pat Maroon. So I imagine you heard a bunch of them that you were probably jaw on the floor, and some of which you printed, which was a hilarious article.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, he's just one of the most colorful characters. You've had him on the show in the NHL, and a very important kind of glue guy to every team. Lightning don't win the Cup out there last year without a guy like that. But just all the different stories from his teammates, from the St. Louis Bandits in obviously the Anaheim Ducks, and Trent Yawney played a huge part in him. He almost quit hockey back when he was at the Phantoms, got sent home by the Flyers, and thought about hanging it up. But then he has a young son. I can't not do anything else. I got to do something with and then he gave it another chance. And it's amazing how the world works. You give a guy a chance and believe in him, and you let him be himself, his personality, and all of a sudden he's a guy who's going to 3 straight Cups. So I think he's just a great story overall, and obviously there's ones that you could and couldn't print even on our progressive site, but obviously there's more to come, I think, with him.
When you describe the article to anyone who hasn't read it, what's one story that kind of sticks out, maybe, that you could share?
Oh God, I think there was, well, other than like the bar fight in the parking lot in St. Louis Bandits, where he was chirping with one of his teammates, Mike Murray, and they were just chirping one guy there at the bar, and they end up fighting in the parking lot, and Mike Murray ended up getting pretty hurt, but then Pat and his brother Phil were chasing the guy down in the car, and Phil had, I guess, a golf club, and he was trying to go after him. But I think the one that really stood out to me was he played for the St. Louis Bandits, and they won a championship in Alaska with John Cooper, and they had lost the game before going to the championship game. And Kelly Chase, who you guys know really well, the day before, right the day of the game, came up to him and said, "Hey, are we okay? Are we going to do this?" He goes, "Mr. Chase, we didn't come out all the way to Alaska to lose. I'm not going to let that happen." And they scored 3 goals and they win the championship. And so kind of shows the swagger, the confidence, and obviously the skill of Pat Maroon. So
how many?
That was back when he was working the half wall a little bit.
That's true. I was wondering how many did you hear where they're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't print that one.
Yeah, I heard a few, and obviously, it's all good fun, right? I mean, nothing crazy, so to speak. But there's when you're guys whose life of the party, a guy who's everyone's favorite teammate and can loosen things up. There are definitely the nickname 5250 and all that kind of stuff like that I hadn't really heard of before. The nicknames that have gone around, but yeah, it's been fun to cover him the last couple of years, and he'll be at least here for another one next year. And
he played for Coop a long time ago, right? When he was a kid, Maroon.
Yeah, he just said he was on the team.
Yeah.
He was the coach of that team who won it.
So I was writing a question down, actually leading up to Coop. He's the longest tenured coach in the league currently. He seems extremely happy here. Why has he been so successful in Tampa, Joe?
Well, I mean, I think, he's been successful everywhere he's went, every level, from coaching in high school in Lansing, which I did a story on that back in the day, to USHL and AHL. And I think he just has a strong belief in what he wants to do as a coach and doesn't change. As far as overall, he's evolves, of course, but he doesn't change that kind of mindset of what kind of team you like to have. And, he has support, the general manager, Steve Yzerman, and Julian Brisebois, and owner Jeff Vinnick. They really had a lot of synergy there, where you think a couple of years ago they lost in Columbus in 4 games. You might hear people thinking, get rid of this guy, or maybe his time has come to move on. And they really were bullish on him and the team and their core, and they bet on them, and they got rewarded in a big way for it. So I think part of it's obviously his success as a coach. He's a player's coach. The guys know he always says culture over strategy is kind of his belief, more than the X's and O's. And you can see it happening with this group. Process over outcomes, it's said 1 million times the last couple of years, and it's right there. But it's a whole organizational effort, I think, to have the coaching staff be able to stick around this long and get to see this thing through, which they have.
What's the evolution of his and Kucherov's relationship been like, in getting him to really buy in and playing a certain way, even being his skilled, and the player has a temper. So what have you seen that coach-player relationship be like in the years that they've been together?
I mean, that's a good. He came up, and obviously Kucherov showed up as a talented prospect. He scored in his first shot at Henrik Lundqvist. And you knew he'd be a special player.
That was my first goal too. That was my first goal in Madison Square Garden. So I don't know where Kucherov did it, but thanks for bringing him up, Joe.
just like you, yeah. He's always a very talented player, very competitive, one of the greatest hockey minds I've ever been around. But yeah, Coach, John Cooper definitely has kind of evolved with him, and you saw even benched Kucherov last year during the Cup season against Ottawa for an overtime. And so there's, he made sure that Kucherov was kind of understood why, and the players, I'm sure, got their attention as well. But you've seen Kucherov really evolve into more of a vocal leader, which I think would surprise a lot of people who don't know him well. But he was a guy behind the scenes at the bubble, talking to guys on the bench, telling the guys to play the right way. And, for a guy of that stature, one of the best players in the world, in my opinion, to come speak up in the room, it makes a big difference. So I think you've seen, Cooper's good at letting the talent kind of play, letting them be themselves and show their creativity. And you can't harness a guy like Kucherov. And I think you've seen the benefit of that, of kind of believing him and letting him kind of find his way.
Point. Whit was talking about him beforehand when we hopped on with you. He's a pretty under the radar kind of guy, isn't he?
He is. He shouldn't be by now. I mean, I think he's a bona fide superstar.
I meant more so off the ice.
He means like personality.
Personality-wise. You don't hear much about him.
Yeah, I think guys joke he still used a flip phone a couple years back. He's very like an old soul, kind of
burner,
low-key. Like, I tried to ask him about himself, and it's almost impossible, and so he has to go to his buddies and his dad and like people he grew up with and stuff like that. But just one of the most humble people and players I've ever kind of been around. And he's better talking about other people. But this series against the Canadiens is funny. Joel Edmondson played with him in Moose Jaw, and they recalled the day where he scored. He was like 15, 16 years old, looked like one of the kids' brothers on the team, and he led the team in scoring in the playoffs, and he scored a hat trick or a big goal in the overtime in that playoffs, and they ended up putting him on their shoulders in the locker room, like some of these first round picks, top NHL prospects. They're putting this little kid, shaggy haired kid, on their shoulders in the dressing room after the game, and they're like, they said that this is the moment we realize this guy's doing something special. This is going to be the last moment he scores a big goal, and like here you see the last couple of years, he could have been a Conn Smythe last year, and he'd be in the running this year, I think, on many people's ballots if they do end up winning the Cup.
I want to ask about Vasilevsky. Was he expected to be this good, or has he exceeded his expectations?
I think he was a kind of a generational prospect when they drafted him, and the reason why they got him 19th overall is because two things. One, he was Russian. Two, he was a goalie, and not many Russian goalies were taken in the top, 5 or so, like Carey Price was. But he had that talent. He was compared to Tretiak, kind of a Russian prospect, and he just. I remember talking to Ben Bishop about this, and he said the first time he saw him skate with Tampa, or just the way he was playing, he's like, I know my time is numbered here in Tampa Bay. Bishop was a heck of a goaltender just because of how good this kid could be. And you saw him gradually, with the help of Ben Bishop too, helping mentor and groom him, turn him into best goalie in franchise history. And you're looking at maybe another Vezina for him tomorrow. So, tremendous work ethic, tremendously competitive. He hates giving up goals even in practice. And I've had him on my Hart Trophy ballot this year. I had him, I think, fourth on my ballot this year because of how important he was to this team without Kucherov and Stamkos for a month and a half.
Well, the third Russian that I'm interested in hearing about is Sergachev, and just because he seems like a guy who's always in a good mood. I know I've seen clips of him stopping for fans, signing jerseys. Just seems like a really good guy. And I'm wondering, is he kind of the clown of the team? Do guys give it to him? What's his whole vibe around the locker room like?
He's got a great sense of humor, obviously, and I know Kucherov and Vasilevsky do as well, but he's a little more kind of outspoken with it and just very mature. I mean, he's only like 22 years old. He's already been in the league for 3-4 years, and he was kind of one of the stars of those Doc Talk videos with Alex Killorn, where he come out there with his cat, walk his cat in the neighborhood kind of thing, and then show him kind of pop on the jet ski. But I remember talking to his billet family and how he right away was just, he learned English in a couple months span, and he was just just one of those guys that's ahead of his time in terms of maturity. But you could definitely see his quotes. He was asked today about getting traded to Tampa, and he kind of bit his tongue a little bit and said, obviously it's great to be here. That's all I'm going to say about that. So
that's right, because of the connection with Montreal. Yeah. I was watching Killorn. He reminds me of last year's Palat. Kind of that secondary guy where he's just elevated his game. Why such the impact? Is he getting more ice? What extra is he doing to make that impact?
Well, I think Killorn, if you look back, he's been usually a pretty good playoff player, dating back to that 15 Cup final run. But I think him and that line with Cirelli and Stamkos has really kind of taken off in that last round. And Killorn is, I know he doesn't have the big name as other guys, but he plays in every situation. He plays power play, penalty kill, one of the rare power forwards on this team. And I think you guys know that how much a player is thought about is when he plays on the ice in certain moments in certain games, and he's always there, 6-on-5, end of the game, with a one goal, you try to protect it, and otherwise up there 6-on-5 trying to score a goal. So a lot of trust by the coaching staff, and he's really emerged as kind of underrated leader in the room. So interesting to see what happens this offseason with all the cap crunch and expansion draft, because I think he's the guy you wouldn't want to lose, but who knows what might happen.
Joe, moving over to Game 1 tonight, is Coop stressing to his team, how much the Canadiens have been disrespected at seemingly every turn this playoffs between bookmakers, the media, everybody?
I think that should be brought to their attention. I think they probably know that by now, and I think it's a very, very powerful thing. You have a team that's playing like a team of destiny, basically, and where the pressure's on Tampa, I think, and this historic chance for a repeat, and you have Montreal, and they have the stars, but they're playing their game kind of perfectly, and they have all the role players who bought in, and equalizer and Carey Price. So I think they're well aware of what the challenge is. The different thing is they haven't played these guys in over a year, so playing this divisional format this year, playing guys 8-9 times, you have a good feel now. I think this will be a really good feeling out process in Game 1 to see just how they're, the speed, the rookie Cole Caufield, to see how they play against the power play. The penalty kill has been terrific for Montreal. So it's really going to be one of those, the first time you'll see a feeling out process really in the playoffs, because you haven't seen each other in a long time.
What do you think Tampa needs to do to break through their seemingly robotic check-in?
Well, first of all, they need to break out the zone. Once they break out the zone, they can fly through the neutral zone. They break out of their own end. But I think it's just less east-west, more north-south, get the puck up there. And when they're on their game, their puck management's pretty elite. And so when they've been slow during this last couple of series, they've been really maybe one extra pass or trying to too much chip and chase, too much kind of too much of a flip game, as they say. So I think overall, if they can kind of get through that initial breakout through the neutral zone, I think that's when they can really get their forecheck, and the line like the Yanni Gord line can really take over and create there.
And given how the Cup went last year, obviously Stamkos did win, but he was injured. He didn't get to participate probably as much as he wanted to. Obviously not as much as he wanted to. He must be extra geared up this year, considering his health is a lot better, eh?
Oh, it's very special for him. Look at him. He's been part of the runs in previous years, but last year, that other than that iconic goal, which was an important goal in the Cup final, he's just mostly behind the scenes and being a leader, and now just being kind of front and center and scoring some big goals last series, and being kind of leader on and off the ice. I think this is kind of a special moment for him. He's still, I think, playing hurt, quite frankly. He had an injury late in the year, so he's still kind of battling it, just like Kucherov was. But I don't think people realize just how unique it is for a guy to have that many serious injuries and not only come back but play at an elite level like it is. It probably takes a tremendous toll, I'd imagine, on him mentally and physically to come back each and every year and try to play at that elite level that they all hope he can be at.
Well, thank you for coming on and teeing up Tampa's team look before this series. What is your prediction?
My prediction is Lightning in 6. Lightning in 6 or 7.
That was mine too, Joe. That was mine too. Lightning in 6. Yep, we'll see. So we appreciate you coming on, and good job covering the team, and we'll catch up after the series, I'm sure.
Sounds great. Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
I got one last one. Does the fan base wonder why Killorn's shoulder pads are so big compared to the other guys? Does that ever come up?
It always comes up why he always falls down on the ice. He always slips and falls a lot, so they always ask me about that question.
That's not what you want to hear.
So he gets sniped from the crowd the most of any guy. I would assume Shen would have had that.
Yeah, Shen's too nice of a guy. Shen's like one of those guys that's hard to get mad at. Hard to give him too much crap. But yeah, true. He's
Killer's giving it to people. All right, well, we'll check in with you later. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much, guys. Take care.
Enjoy the
Have a
good one.
Thanks, Take care. Enjoy the series. Big thanks to Joe Smith for joining us. First time we had him on. I'm sure we'll have him back, especially if Tampa ends up winning back-to-back cups. But that interview was brought to you by our friends at Body Armor. It's our favorite sports drink. It's so hot in the summer right now, especially in the Northeast. You need to stay hydrated, and Body Armor is the best way to do it. Today's athletes deserve more than your grandfather's tired, old, salty sports drink, which is full of artificial dyes. Enter Body Armor. Made with potassium-packed electrolytes, antioxidants, and B vitamins, plus no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or dyes. Body Armor Sports Drink provides hard-working hydration and more, plus it tastes great. I'm enjoying a nice gold berry right now myself. I'm sure I'll be digging into the orange mango and watermelon strawberry later in the week. Body Armor helps today's athletes stay on top of their game. Body Armor, available for purchase in-store and on Amazon now. Learn more at drinkbodyarmor.com. All right, boys, we're going to circle back to Game 1 of the Stanley Cup tonight. Just going to give our takes, predictions, and whatnot. This is the fourth ever postseason meeting between the two teams. Tampa beat Montreal in the second round en route to their first Cup back in 2004. They played in 2014. The Canadiens swept them 4-0 in the first round. And then in 2015, Tampa beat the Canadiens in the second round and went on to lose the Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks. There's another interesting note you mentioned. Every single Canadian team, except for Winnipeg, because they only got back to Winnipeg in 2011, every single Canadian team has been to the Stanley Cup final more recently than the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs have won a series in 2004. I mean, that's just rubbing your nose in dog shit on the sidewalk right there.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So every team's won at least 3 rounds.
Yep.
Since Toronto's gotten 1.
Calgary 04, Edmonton 06, Ottawa 07, Vancouver 11, and the Habs this year.
Hey, he's a Canadiens fan now. This is a no-lose for him.
No, it hurts a bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Respect that. Respect that.
I was just kind of dozing off there. I couldn't imagine that lady with the sign at the Tour de France. She was like texting her friend, "Hey, look at the
Watch
TV.
this.
They're coming up. They're coming up." And
I'm
she's
about
like,
to go viral.
Hello, and then boom, and then you're like, oh my god, my friend just ruined the fucking.
You
Tour
just
de
delete her
France.
number right away.
If it was my wife, I'd probably divorce her.
Oh yeah, it's a divorce. That's papers the next day.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough look when
you make it, like I said, get on the BMX. About this series, Carey Price has been so outstanding, and like you can't say enough good things about how he's been. But Vasilevsky has a better goals against, a better save percentage, and 4 shutouts compared to Price's 1. So while you have this amazing goalie in Montreal, who's best Canadian of all time, as Biz said, it's obviously the strength of your team, but you're going in and you're playing a guy who's probably better than you. Over the past few years, certainly he has been. And that's the scary thing about Tampa. That's why I picked him to repeat, the only guy on the show. That's why I have him winning in 6 games this series. And in the end, if Tampa wants to play offensive, they can do it. If they want to play defensive, they can do it. And no matter when the breakdown happens, which every team has them, Vasilevsky's there. So I think it's going to be a great series. I'm very excited. I know I said I wouldn't watch if it was Islanders Canadiens. That was one of my dumber statements. I couldn't believe I said that. I really regretted it because I knew I had to watch. It's my job. So I was going to catch a ton of heat. But in the end, now I am pretty fired up because Tampa's offensive power play is so good, and you're going against this PK and this team defense that's been so exciting. As exciting as defense can be, the Montreal Canadiens have done it. So I think it'll be entertaining. I don't think it'll be easy. You hear sweeper 5. I think it's going 6 or if not 7. And it's going to be exciting to see if they can slow this Lightning team down like they have every other team along the way.
To push back a little bit on your point, Carey Price has went against better goaltenders, quote unquote, over the last couple of years, every single round. Jack Campbell, his sample size, yes, not big enough maybe, but as far as numbers coming into playoffs, especially with Hellebuck, I think what did he win the Vezina last year?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
So I think he's able to put that fucking mind torpedo from crease to crease, being like, "Yeah, bitch, I've been here before." But the difference being,
this is a guy who's
also been there before.
He's looking back at you. He's a little taller too.
And because I've been pumping Carey Price's tires the whole time, this is an interesting stat. All right, you may have already read this off because maybe I was dozing off worrying about the Tour de France. Carey Price stats when his team can clinch a playoff series in 6 appearances since 2008. 959 save percentage, 7 goals allowed with a 1.17 goals against average, and 2 shutouts. So I just wanted to get that in there. I know you're kind of like, well, yeah, but they're starting another series. Yeah, I wanted to pump his tires based on the other one.
I didn't mean to chirp him in the sense of just like Vasilevsky is so good and he's so big. And the thing is, like, if you look at Tampa after a loss in the last few years, 13-0 now, Vasilevsky has every win. Dude, this guy, if he does have an off night or the team has an off night, they win the next game back. It's just, it's a machine in Tampa, so I can't wait to see how it shakes out tonight.
Another interesting point, we thought Vegas was more of an offensive juggernaut than Montreal going into that series. Vegas was outscored 9-1 off the rush in that series by Montreal. So the only game off or only goal that came off a rush from Vegas was a defenseman. So I'm just saying is like, you keep kind of believe. I get sucked into like believing some of they're gonna outscore them. Oh, they got this high flying offense. Oh, better goaltender. But Montreal's proven time and time again in this lead to the cup that they can hang with the big boys.
Yeah, and yep. So all right, my last thing is that they haven't experienced anything like this team yet in this run. And I got to give them credit, though, because since Game 4 against Toronto, they're 12-2. 11. Would it be 11-2? Because they won 3 straight against TO, they won 4 straight against Winnipeg, and then they took 4-2 against Vegas. So I think that what they've done has been very special, and there is a magical feeling. I just think that Tampa's too big, too strong, too fast.
My only concern for Montreal is we're getting late in the playoffs, and given the depth up front that Tampa has, how much can you ride those top 4 D for Montreal? You saw,
we said that to Engels. You're right.
So
I think the goalies are a wash as far as I'm concerned. Tampa's forwards got a little too much oomph. I think a little more oomph than Montreal's rather. And as far as the back end, Montreal, their top 4 has been doing great, but they don't have as much offense as Tampa's top 4. I got Tampa in 7. I think Montreal's too good. They're going to give them a battle, but I think Tampa in 7. Biz, you had.
I had Habs in 7.
Okay.
I just think they've been on this magical run, and I hopped on the bandwagon last round. I look like a genius now, and I'm going to keep riding with them. I thought I had the Islanders 1-2.
That first goal has been huge, too. Like, Montreal, they get it, and they sit on it, but they can't get through them no matter what. So it's going to be interesting, once again, the power play versus the penalty kill. G, what was your prediction?
I had Lightning in 6.
Lightning in 6.
Yeah, all right. I said that because we wanted to go to Vegas. We wanted Vegas to win to make a trip out to the Sin City, and I just said, get the first goal, please. But they changed the entire style, and Price can lock it up. So it'll be a good one. What are the odds right now, RA? Or when you last checked?
I got Murley's column right here. Murley wrote his prediction preview column.
Murs on the Lightning.
Murs, by the way, yeah, he's on Tampa in 5. He has the shortest amount of games.
Ooh.
And his blog, Tampa minus 275, Montreal plus 225. I haven't checked it recently, so it could have changed. I know a lot of these early series or early games, Montreal, they got a lot of late cash coming in on them, so the line did change like very much before the game. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll check what happens. But either way, let's hope for a great series, and hopefully we'll get at least 6 games out of it. But we got some other news and notes to get to in the hockey world.
Can I give another fun fact?
Absolutely, buddy.
This Jesse Granger works for Vegas Golden Knights as a beat reporter. We are going back to the power play and how shit it was for the Golden Knights. Through 18 playoff games, the Golden Knights had scored 4 power play goals on 41 opportunities. That's 9.8%. The last NHL team to play at least 18 playoff games with a power play percentage below 10% was the New York Islanders in 92-93. So, long story short, if your fucking power play is absolute dog shit, chances are you ain't going to go to the finals.
All right.
Well said, Biz.
Good job, Biz. Good job.
I've been dropping the fun facts
You're
today.
crushing it with the
Thank
stats.
you.
You're crushing it.
All right. Like I said, we get some other hockey news and notes here. Seattle named the first coach in franchise history, former Flyers coach David Hackstall. He's going to be leading the Seattle Kraken in their first year. After Philadelphia let him go or fired him, he became an assistant with Toronto, and apparently he learned some lessons from whatever his mistakes in Philadelphia were, and he's going to be the first coach in Seattle. Any surprise there, boys, from either one of you?
I don't know anything about him. I heard he was a bit of a hardo as a coach coming into the NHL, and you can't be talking to guys in the NHL like you do in college, and sometimes the guys are saying, yeah, well, I'm locked in here with a no-move clause, so pack your fucking office and scram.
Take your bread here.
I'm going to be here longer than you. Listen, you had the first go-round in Philly. They made the playoffs the first year. It didn't really go well or end well, but he's had some success in Toronto. And I think that sometimes your second go-around, you're able to learn from your mistakes. Look at Bruce Cassidy. And I think it was a little longer he had to wait. But it's hard to just dog a coaching hire. People love doing that no matter what. It's like, let it at least play out. I don't know. I think in the end, though, it's good for a guy to get a second chance.
100%.
Because when you come from college, and he'd been the first guy to go directly from college in quite a while, I think, when he went from North Dakota. You got to think that it's not going to go that smooth. It's just so different. And the way you approach the players and kind of control their lives in a sense in college, it's just so different in the NHL. So he gets another chance, and he probably, when he was fired, maybe thought he never would.
I kind of look at the situation with Dallas Eakins when he went to Edmonton. And, listen, he's an awesome guy. They actually just hired Mike Stothers as an assistant.
Did they?
Yeah, the coach
Nice.
I won a Calder Cup with. I wanted to get that in as well. But, I'd heard when he went to Edmonton, he tried to change things up, and he was very strict about what the guys were eating on the plane, to the point I even think he took donuts away from the media.
Oh, yeah. That was when you don't want to piss off those guys.
Yeah.
You
ran him out of
you
town
don't want to
after
take
that.
a donut away from an Edmonton Journal beat writer. He
Yeah.
will come after you quick. So that was just a hard-o move.
Yeah, and I think he learned from that, and he stepped away from and he ended up getting that coaching job with the San Diego Gulls, coached their prospects, did an unreal job, and then eventually got the nod up top. So I look at it similar situation in Witt. I couldn't agree more. I like second opportunities. Like I'd even go out on a limb to say, like, as shitty as what I think that some of the stuff that Babcock has done, if he could find a place where he makes amends with the people that he's done it to, fucking give him a second shot.
He'll be back in the NHL someday. Probably sooner rather than later. I think when all that stuff come out about various coaches, I think on the list of transgressions, Babcock's are probably on the lower end. I mean, he sued Marner in that one thing, and yeah, it wasn't nice.
No,
but it was
fair,
like,
I agree.
He didn't kick him in the fucking teeth.
Well,
and,
according to Commodore, and like I believe every word he said, he's like, yeah, he fucking treated him, and he was spiteful and treated him like an asshole.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think Commie's going to forgive him, and I don't know how we got off on the rails here.
No, well, we're talking
they're
coaching.
playing in a member guest together, I guess, at Whisper Rock.
Oh, nice.
They made amends.
All right, we want to send congrats off to defenseman Carl Gunnison. He retired after a 12-year NHL career, the last 7 which he spent with the St. Louis Blues, where he won a cup in 2019. Also, congrats to J.T. Brown, who retired after playing 7 years for Tampa, Anaheim, and Minnesota. And he's going to join, the Seattle Kraken as well to become their TV analyst. So good luck to him.
He retired and then took that job on the same day.
Yeah. He went to Sweden for a year after his NHL career, and then took that gig. So good luck to him with that. The Hockey Hall of Fame is going to induct the 2020 inductees. They obviously weren't able to do it with the COVID shit last year, so they're going to do it this year. It's going to be outside of the Hockey Hall of Fame, not outdoors, but some other facility for the first time since 1993.
The year the Canadiens won the cup.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Fucking.
There's another sign. It's wild. It's wild.
The story we talked about last week, which ugly story in hockey, the Chicago Blackhawks stuff that's been going on. There's a lot of people have been reporting on it. Not every outlet has reported on it. Like, for example, if you go on NHL.com, haven't seen anything on there, which is kind of shady.
Daly and excuse me to interrupt. Daly and Bettman discussed it quickly in terms of today at the the pregame one press conference of the league, and they just mentioned once Chicago does their independent investigation, which the Wirtz announced they're going to do, the league will then come in and say or do something if they deem necessary. Now, it's hard for them right now. Let the Blackhawks do this independent investigation and then see where it goes, because some stuff is crazy. It's brutal to hear. You did a good job describing it before, RA, but if there is people who you could figure out covered this up, get them out of this league.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no fucking excuse for it. I mean,
No
there was clearly a cover-up of some sort.
You spoke on it from the heart last podcast, so anybody wondering what the whole breakdown is and specifically RA's thoughts on it, go back and listen to episode 340. But this is getting uglier and uglier by the day, and it's brutal.
Yeah, it felt like they almost thought it was going to go away again, or not again. It popped back up. And it didn't. Like, a lot of media stayed on top of it. And like Witt said, today, Monday, Danny Wirtz come out and said that they're going to hire an independent review of the situation. And yeah, I know it's easy to pick on the NHL and people who might have worked for the team, but, it's probably a good idea to, be a little patient. I mean, it's been a long time. Let's see what happens.
Ultimately, they're going to find the people who are involved, and those people are going to have to face.
Before we crucify everybody, I mean, I think we know who we can crucify right now, probably.
Yes.
But we don't need to crucify everybody yet, so we should probably wait on that and let the Blackhawks do their review, and then the league again. And there's also legal matters too. With people don't want to say anything where it's going to interrupt any legal type shit. But either way, heads should ultimately roll. Whoever they are, we'll keep you posted when it happens. Also, we want to send condolences to the family, friends, and the Sabres family. Rene Robert, who I mentioned last week, had a heart attack. He was the right wing on the Sabres' legendary French Connection line, passed away at 72 after said heart attack. So again, we extend our condolences to his family and friends. And we got some even worse, horrible.
Yeah, guys,
it's a tough way to end the pod. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's so sad, and I just quickly want to mention our heartfelt condolences and our sympathy to David Pastrnak and his girlfriend in the loss of their son, Vigo. I think he was 6 days old, and as a parent, it's like you can't even think about it. And I don't know Pasha that well, but in the times we've met, it brings it home even more how sick to our stomach we feel. So we're thinking of you, and nothing's worse. I could never imagine it. So our sympathies go out to him.
Well said, Whit. Well said. Yeah. Last NHL note, Chris Chelios and Marc Messier are going to join ESPN next season in the booth. And all right, we got to move along to an ad. I know it's awkward to have to do these heartbreaking stories. I mean, I was crying reading it myself. Right,
yeah, same here.
It's awful. And Dave's our pal. He's become a little bit of our pal of the year. So we're all heartbroken for him. And again, we send our deepest and most heartfelt condolences to him, his girlfriend Rebecca, and their families.
Good job.
All right. Thanks. Before we get to the final notes here, say goodbye to stressful student loan payments and take charge of your future with Earnest. Earnest offers low-rate student loan refinancing, and you can check your rate risk-free in just 2 minutes. With Earnest, you get radically flexible payments, and you can pick your loan term. By refinancing, you can reduce your loan term, save money, or combine multiple loans into a simple monthly payment. And if you have questions, you can even talk to a real-life human at Earnest for help. Isn't it time you stop feeling overwhelmed by your student debt? Right now, Earnest is giving our listeners a $100 bonus. So refinance your student loans at earnest.com/chiclets. Terms and conditions apply. Not available in all states. Once again, visit earnest.com/chiclets for more details. Again, terms and conditions do apply. Earnest student loan refinancing made by Earnest Operations, LLC, NMLS number 1204917, California Finance and Law License number 6054788, 303 2nd Street, Suite 401N, San Francisco, California, 94107. Visit earnest.com/licenses for a full list of licenses. And like I said, moving around, we got a couple of the non-NHL notes. Grinelli, Summer Hockey Fest. How did the registration go at that last week?
The registrations went great. We went through all the teams, and I think the teams should wake up. If you were selected, you should wake up with an email tomorrow. And then later in the week, you'll get a nice little personalized surprise from the Chiclets crew. We'll say that.
So what happens if somebody gets a spot? Because I think we had 140 people try to get in.
Yeah, there was a lot. There was a bit more than that, but we'll say
more
that.
than that. Okay, so there's a 52 teams selected.
Yep.
If somebody has to back out of the tournament and allow another,
we selected alternates as well.
Okay.
So we have it. We have like 3 or 4 alternates for each division. We're holding a team in each division. So
I'll say the biggest component to this is the people who didn't get selected. We're doing it in Detroit for a reason. It's a border town. At that point in time, you can come over if you're double vaccinated, if you're Canadian. It's going to be a party during the Friday and Saturday. On the Friday night, we're working out the venue. The people who end up getting into the tournament won't have to pay to get into the venue, but we're going to have maybe a live cover band, a DJ. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have live music at the ball hockey courts when we're doing the tournament itself. So if you're in the area, 6th and 7th of August, come join us. We'll have a good time, and we're going to drink some Pink Whitney.
There's going to be NHL players there. There will be current NHL players. There will be former NHL players. So it's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a time and a half.
So our friend Brad Jones, who's setting up all the ball hockey rinks, he's good buddies with Dave Boland and Prusty. So they're going to come in too. So come check it out. All the information's online, and we're looking forward to seeing all you Chiclets fans.
And we are now going to end now, but we'll be back after game 1. We'll be going over what happens then tonight. We all got action, and hopefully you guys check this out on the stream. So we'll see you in a little bit.
All right, well, gang, we just finished up our first live stream of the night, and I said in the first period, Biz, that...
You mean of the week?
Yeah. Well, it's going to be like
more.
one long...
I got to go to sleep.
It's going to be like one long night while we're here, so yeah, I'm cutting to the chase.
Like, wait, when's the other one tonight?
But I said in the first period that Montreal can't continue to go toe-to-toe with Tampa Bay like this. It's just not the way they've been playing all playoffs, and it bore itself out. Tampa imposed their will on Montreal the way we've seen Montreal do it to the other 3 teams they faced. 5-1 victory, thorough victory by Tampa Bay. What do you got for us?
Well,
buddy?
I will say in that first period, the pace was awesome. And I thought Montreal did a great job of keeping up with them, but I was like, I haven't seen them move this fast all playoff long. And eventually the floodgates open. They didn't go down without a fight, though. Oh. And what we've reiterated, is that reiterated?
Reiterated.
Yes.
Did I get it off clean?
IT, yeah.
Good job.
Time over time, Tampa can play any way you want. What were the hit totals, Grinelli? Pull them up. I think it was...
I got it. 58 Canadiens, 57 Lightning.
Oof.
That has to be the highest total
It's
of
like
any
Biz when
game.
he's 15 on himself.
Lower the cage, full-on cage match. We saw for the third time. I mean, one was self-induced with Petry blowing out his eyeballs with the... What do you call that when they...
He had the finger dislocation.
Finger dislocation. The other one being Corey Perry getting stuck in the face. And now Brandon Gallagher, which... Probably maybe the main topic, the body slam by Khabib / Sergachev.
That was some Iron Sheik shit.
Hey, scary moment though when you saw you saw that he was okay and he was up, and I say okay, he's got blood streaming down his face. I already love that image. He was going nuts over that.
Yeah,
but it was very hockey playoffs.
Striking.
But then once you saw the replay and how much force he got slammed headfirst
Tom
into
Wilson
the ice.
Shit.
Yeah, it was. I don't know if the Canadian fans have started going nuts yet, the way the Rangers fans did. I don't know if the Canadians will release a statement going after George Parros like the Rangers did, a disgusting act of violence, but it certainly was not pleasant to watch. And I think that Gallagher, he definitely needed stitches. Oh. But I mean, listen, that game, I know Montreal stuck in it early. It's 2-1 going in the third, but Tampa is a lot better hockey team than they are. And I know that like you can look up and down the lineups, but there's ways that Montreal can slow teams down, but right now Tampa looked like the class of the league, which everyone kind of knows they are.
And based on our last 3 Stanley Cup winners, I refuse to put a lot of stock into Game 1, travel for the Canadiens, adjusting to a new team. last 3 teams, I think we already mentioned on the podcast, who have won the Stanley Cup, lost game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. So just throwing that out there. Not a great performance by the Habs and not much of a response. Kucherov, 3 points.
2-1.
And he did so, I don't want to say quietly, but just, what? Oh my, they just have so many weapons.
Well, Sherratt's goal was a crazy bounce. It
Plinko?
goes, straight up Plinko, 2 deflections. And then what happens is Kucherov, like hockey karma, he gets it back. He throws a backhand to net. I think did it hit Sherratt? Was that who the D-man was? I'm sorry, I don't remember right now.
Somebody high stuck. I think Palat got a piece of it.
He didn't get a piece of it.
He did not?
No, that's Kucherov's goal right now.
Geez.
So
Cookie Monster. Ryan
the one
special.
thing is, though, every cup final, you think of there's a guy who maybe an unsung hero, and tonight, that's Cernak. He scores his first career playoff goal. Beautiful tip, soft hands on an awesome pass by Palat. He's driving the net. I don't even know how Cernak got there, but an awesome play. Then later in the game, he runs over Kotkaniemi against the boards. Clean hit. He ends up, pissing off Kotkaniemi enough where he tries. It looked like he butt-ended him in the corner, but you didn't really have proof of it.
Kidney jab.
Yeah, a little kidney jab. So that's a guy, I mean, that's a bottom pair D, and he's playing awesome. And he had a game, the game of his life, I'd say, because first game of the Stanley Cup Finals to produce an effort like that, it shows how deep that team is. Yes, deep. Depth. Remember I talked to you about that?
He did. And Cernak, I think he was out for a game with an upper body injury. So for him to step in, not only to make to play, but to make an impact the way he did. I played with him, for a brief period of time. I don't even know if he made it past training camp with the Ontario Reign, but I don't know. LA let him go. I would imagine they didn't get a crazy return, and here he is making a fucking impact in the Stanley Cup Finals the way he did tonight. What a rush. I think that Tampa did a good job at giving Montreal different looks than we've seen throughout all of playoffs from other teams. A lot of high tip plays, a lot of east to west in the O zone. I don't think they got too cute in the neutral zone, which is something where if you do, Montreal's going to burn you. I thought they did a good job, and then ultimately they all their creativity came out in the offensive zone. What a sentence by me.
That was a great job.
Good stuff.
That was a great job.
I've been fucking buzzing.
Kotkaniemi ended up getting called for a high stick there, too. It did look like he sort of butted into him, but when he followed through, he caught his helmet, so that's what they got him for. It was the first time Montreal's looked like an underdog in a long time. I mean, they've been an underdog, but they haven't played like it.
And they've had some emotional, moments here. Not that Tampa hasn't winning a Game 7, but they didn't have to travel, like Biz said. And they go down. They don't have Armia, who word was that he was going to maybe make the game, take a private jet down. I don't know if he didn't.
He went
to
live.
Biz said that just plane went to Miami. He said, fuck it, I'm going out with Portnoy.
Evans got informed.
Yes,
right?
Evans got informed. He played 11 minutes. That was the first game.
On before you get in the building.
You get per diem in the playoffs. What am I talking about? But looking at the ice time, and this is something we mentioned, the Canadiens still had 4 defensemen play over 24 minutes. And you got Merrill and Gustafsson both playing around 10. Well, before, when they were slowing down the games in the prior 3 rounds, they could do that. But this team is just so deep, and Tampa plays so fast that it's going to be really hard for these games to continue and be this physical, just rolling 4. And I know there's 1 round left, but you're playing against the big dogs in the league and like no other team you've faced so far. So kind of how I thought Game 1 would go. That's why I had Tampa in regulation and the over. RA had the over and Tampa money puck line.
Yeah.
So that's just that's 4 winners for this room, and Biz took the Canadiens.
No.
And has yoga pants on.
No, Sean, get him a mic. I said I don't think Montreal's going to win this game. I said I picked the money line Tampa.
He did.
He did?
He picked the money line Tampa.
5-0. 5-0
Game 1, I'm not going to put any stock into it, and we're going to see Canadians roll off 4 straight.
And the penalty killing versus power play aspect we talked so much about was pretty irrelevant tonight. The only power play goal Tampa got was late on the 5-on-3 to make it 5-1. The game was over at that point. But going back to the Gallagher stuff with Sergachev, it was ugly, and obviously we wish Brendan the best, but I think it was just a case of a guy losing a strongman contest. It almost looked, if you watch it, like he was trying to pull him down, or, you try to pull a guy, maybe twist him a little. It was just an unfortunate ending, but I don't think Sergachev is going to see any supplemental discipline. He just Gallagher got the wrong end of a wrestling match.
I agree with you completely. Now, also 2 factors that go into it is when the whole scrum begins, Gallagher cross-checks Sergachev hard.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of it. Coleman comes in and kind of jabs Gallagher pretty hard. Hard enough where I thought, is that where he got cut? Then you see Sergachev get back in the mix and just slam him down. So it was, Gallagher got his face in the mix like he always does, and next thing you know, you see blood dripping down his face. But the replay and the slow motion, he could have broke his neck. It's petrifying to see that.
You do wince watching it, but I mean, it was like a WWF image from the 80s, like Ric Flair, like just the blood, the dramatics
off the top rope.
Jimmy
Fly Snooker, was that his name?
Jimmy Superfly Snooker. Yeah, I get some photos on my Twitter feed if you want to check them out. And then the other skirmish we saw, Edmondson and Gord. And those two were like whacking each other, and they ended up calling the 2 minutes for roughing on Edmondson, and it wasn't even, it was so close it couldn't even be retaliatory. It was like,
but I think Edmondson hit him with a couple late, and Edmondson, Gord does not want. And
no, I think that's a bad trade-off.
And he caught that last one.
For health's sake.
For health's sake, Edmonton's tough as shit.
Yeah. We don't want anyone to die. We just want to see a competitive standpoint.
Yeah, and at the end of the game, like, we always talk about teams when they're getting dusted late in a huge game like this, that, the old set the tone or send a message. And we saw a lot of that with Montreal. They were getting like some cross checks in, some fucking late hits. And I get no problem with it. I'm not calling them out. I
drag them into the mud.
That's the game.
They're trying to drag them into the mud. That's
a lot of chopping and cross checking. And
Weber started getting angry.
Couple last things. Vasilevsky giving off the glove and then taking it away all game long.
He did it to Weber on that breakaway. Which, how did he get that breakaway?
And then
I don't even remember.
Anderson couldn't even hit the net because he had the angle covered so hard. And what was
he had another really good one.
And the biggest, to me, the funniest part of the game was the hair flip off between Maroon and Anderson.
They both have nice flow.
Great hair.
Maybe they start a company together, like your cologne company with Drysdale.
Oh, shit.
I think actually something's in the works with Maroon.
Is there?
For a hair product, yeah.
But
we go big, right?
Nice mousse. When's the last time somebody released that ice mousse?
Oh, mousse was big.
It's been
time
a while.
In my 8th grade.
It's been a while.
When's the last time you heard that word other than like the animal? Mousse.
Oh, the hair product mousse went away.
You think that could
when like
it's still around?
Do you think that could tame my fro?
When the internet came, what
could it tame my fro?
No. I think it might make the fro even froier.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to put it in my hair to like stiffen it when I pat it many moons ago. I used mousse before I used gel. I did have it back then. And we got to talk about Vasilevsky. I mean, he's the leader in the Conn Smythe clubhouse right now to me. The only goal he gets beat on the Sherratt one, that was a Tommy pinball fucking goal. And Price wasn't awful tonight. I mean, he only had 22 saves on 27 shots. The 5-1-3, whatever. You can't fault him much there. There was a bouncy one before that. But it wasn't his best game. I think we're going to see a stronger Price next game and probably a better effort from the Canadiens. And if we don't, man, this might be a quick series.
That's a pretty good way to end it. Let's hope it's not. We want 7 games, at least 6. But tonight was a sign that Montreal could be overmatched. We'll see what happens in Game 2. We'll be back there for the stream. Listen, we got some big-time people coming in. Maybe Gomez, Yandel, Hayes. Then we're looking at possible Jose Theodore.
Oh, my God.
Come up for Game 3.
The Hex.
I think
that's when it all turns around.
We have another awesome interview with Drew Shore we did recently. You'll really enjoy that. So we got some great things cooking, and the rest of this week should be good. Let's just hope for a little more competitive and entertaining hockey game come Wednesday night. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Peace.